Hey everybody, welcome to the 4K Lowdown. My name is David Lowe, and today is a very special day. My episode 9 of Hi-5, and my special guest is none other than the Huckster himself, Brian Huckaba. I'm going to bring him on. What's going on? The
What's going
Huckster is in the house.
on?
Huckamania is running wild.
Welcome, brother. Let's go.
Let's go!
I got a mint just to freshen my mouth up. Even if it's
That's
just myself here.
that's right. We might have smell-o-vision. You don't know. So
Don't know people.
you don't know. Anything can happen here.
When you got the Huckster on, it's unpredictable.
We got the Huckster, so we got Turner Fan already on. Rich,
Dude.
thanks for joining me, bro. He's my partner in crime. We got Movie Hunter 2020. Smash that like button. Yes, yes. Please, please.
Mhm.
So, Huckster, how you doing, man?
I am doing great. Look, I
Good.
feel like you. I was like snarfing down my burgers and fries. Homemade, by the way. I made those. But it was just like right down to the wire. It's like, go, go, go. So
Yeah,
I'm all full
Yeah.
of juice, ready to go. Got my
ready to go. You got your carbs in. You got your juice going. You're
ready to
You're ready.
chat with you, baby. Let's go.
awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited. So Huck, we met doing the trivia thing that
That's right.
you do, and I had a blast on that. I really did. It was so
Yeah,
much
you're
fun,
great.
and I'm looking to be on there again, and hopefully win this time because I came
Look,
down right down to the wire,
you did.
and
Yeah, and for the fans at home, if they watch the intro, let's do it together. Ready?
yeah,
Flintstones.
meet the Flintstones,
The Modern
I'm a toy
Family.
family.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. We all broke into song on that.
I
That was
love
great.
that. Those are the things I look for.
Those
When
are
I'm
it's those
making
sweet
intro.
moments like that you get.
I
Yeah.
know that's good stuff.
Yeah. No, in talking to you before, I know that you've met a lot of celebrities,
Hmm.
and I've met a lot of celebrities. So I wanted to kind of get your take, like like a real positive note, the best celebrity that you've ever talked to.
Ooh, best celeb I've talked to.
Yeah.
Um,
Not just met, but if you've actually sit down and talked to someone, you're like, man, this dude is a genuine person.
well, that's easy. It's my man crush, Keanu Reeves, baby.
Oh, nice.
Oh, well, I've told this story on my morning show, and I'll tell it again if you'd like.
Do it.
This was back in the early '90s when he was shooting Speed, and I worked on Main Street down there in Venice, California, and that's where they, when he goes in goes back for the scone and his coffee, and the bus explodes, and he goes back out, and his buddy just blew up in the bus, and
Right.
he's like running down the street. Oh no! That happened right outside my window. They exploded this bus, and we totally forgot it was going to happen, but they put like flyers on everybody's door saying there's going to be an
There's gonna
explosion.
be something.
Don't freak out.
Yeah.
Of course, what do? We freaked out. We all ran outside, and there's freaking Keanu Reeves running down the street. I'm like, oh, it's that Speed movie, right? So, flash forward to later that night, or it could even been the next night because they were there for a couple days. We were at a bar, and and we have these great girls in the building. Worked at a place called Blaze, and they're super social. Like it's all part of, I think, that business, just being social. And Keanu Reeves is there, like having drinks, having a good time. And this one girl goes, I'm gonna go find out if Keanu wants to hang out with us. I'm like, Keanu Reeves is not gonna get up and come hang out with us. 2 minutes later, Keanu Reeves, not only, my friend, comes and hangs out with us, but he sits freaking right next to me, to the right of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this happening right now? Like, yeah,
Exactly.
unless
Right.
the empty chair was next to me. And then at the time, he was doing Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Hmm.
And you know how he and Alex want to do that. They do this excellent. They do this.
Yeah.
And only they do that, right?
Yeah.
And he was on MTV with Pauly Shore. Pauly Shore did that. He held his hand out like this, and he's like, "Hey, Keanu," and he's like, "No way, man.
No,
That's-
only Alex gets that.
Like you don't get that." Well, just for the heck of a moment, I go, look, I know the drill, I know, but I just held my hand out like this, and he goes,
I'll give you
"Excellent."
one.
I was like, "Oh my god!" I was so excited. I cannot tell you.
Nice.
The longer I went, the more the drinks drank. I was like, I think I'm in love with Keanu
I
Reeves.
think I want to go home with Keanu Reeves.
I mean, it's just like it's so weird because it's like that thing. Like you hear he's the nicest guy, and like for me that night he was the nicest guy, and
Yeah.
he even signed a napkin that God help me is somewhere in my,
Somewhere in your universe, somewhere.
it's here. It's right here
It's
though.
it's right. It's in your heart. You got it. Yeah.
So So that has to be the best. That was just a genuine night of talking. He's hanging. Just yeah,
Yeah.
that's it's hands down. There you go.
Nice. Nice. That's good.
There's your
Yeah.
story.
Turner fan 77 loved his trivia night too, but he got to win his
Yeah,
round. Um,
yeah. He got the
but
golden.
I got to tell you, I had some competition, man. Adam and Brian, they were
Mhm.
good.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we're not making it easy for you.
yeah.
And it was one of those super close ones too. It's like it was
Yeah.
bouncing back and forth, and in several games when it gets down to that sort of extra credit thing,
Yeah.
depending on how it's answered, it could pop someone down in a second and launch somebody in the first. But of course, if everyone gets it right, they maintain that.
Then they maintain that level where they're at.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
But no, we
yeah,
were all within a
happened.
couple points of each other for sure, and
Yeah, 2 points. Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
if Brian would have missed it, you'd have had it.
Yep. It is what it is. So yeah, I'm itching to come back and take one. I'm gonna take one of those trophies.
Take
Um,
it.
all right. So what we're gonna do, Huck, is I had you pick 5 of your favorite movies,
That's right.
and I gotta tell you, you got an all-star list. Um,
That's right.
I gotta tell you, so because what I'm gonna have you do is we're gonna go over each one, and I'm gonna choose the order. Be any order,
Mhm.
could be release date order. And I'm just gonna say you've got nothing newer than 1981.
Correct. It's true,
So
right? Oh my God.
you got all classic, like just some
Mhm.
like greats. Like my childhood, I'm going, oh man, I'm itching to score these movies
Oh, good.
because
Well, you
um,
said favorite, so that
yeah,
leaned into a certain direction that I wanted to embrace,
yeah.
just to hear and talk about different movies
Oh
than
yeah,
normal.
no,
Yeah.
and I loved that. And you went different genres. We're gonna be,
What
yeah,
are
we're
you?
gonna be talking some movies because these are
Let's
some
do it.
great choices. So what I did is I went and scored them previously on my own. I'm gonna have you score them live.
Hmm.
And basically, what the lowdown method is I take 10 aspects of the movie that I want, and we score each of those aspects on a 1 to 10 scale. Then at the end of that, I total everything, and then the score that it gets is out of
Hmm.
100. At the end of
Right.
the show, I'm going to give you your scores, what you gave everything, and your
Hmm.
rankings. So
Right.
unless you can do math in your head really quick like I
Oh,
can,
I'm not going to
uh,
bother.
just so yeah. But just kind of think
Math.
about it, and then there's going to be the first 5 aspects are going to be what I'm looking for in all movies, and
Okay.
that's cast, acting, plot, ending, and story. After that, it's based on genre and the type of movie. So
Hmm. Romance and
the
comedy.
other 5 aspects kind of switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. So you've definitely got a comic book movie, you've got a monster movie,
Hmm.
you got some variety going on. So we're going to have some interesting scores, I think.
Cool.
In between these, I'm going to
Mhm.
ask you a question just before each round
Yeah.
and
Well,
get your honest opinion, just to kind of get to know what your opinions are on movies and things like that. And then after that, wherever the chat takes us, if the chat wants to ask you a question, we're going to do
oh,
that.
all right.
So who knows? Um, and and then if I have something else that I want to pick your brain about, it's going to happen. I
Let's
really
bring
wanted to get some trivia to come at you to get a little revenge, but it didn't happen. So I'm not going to do
it.
that. I actually had some. I did like a trivia thing for horror movies. This was about 10 years ago, I think,
Oh yeah.
and I was looking for those because I did those in riddle form. So I
Mhm.
basically told a riddle, and then the answer would be a movie or
Mhm.
a horror movie character or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was really looking for some of those because I think that would have been kind of cool to kind of switch it up with you and give you something a little bit different than your normal trivia question.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find them. So 86
Maybe
that
on the next one.
it's not going to happen. All right, are you ready, my friend, for your first hot seat question?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go, brother. Let's do it. All right, your first hot seat question is: how do you prefer to watch movies? Do you prefer theater, digital media, or physical media?
Mm-hmm. All right. So here's the answer to that. So as a moviegoer growing up, I always prefer the cinema. Like I've always loved that experience. I love going into that darkened theater, lights go down, the screen is bigger than life, And I mean, that's where your experience happens. And now I'll say that said, is like, I think I tend to watch more through physical media now just because I'm at home more, got the family, life is just different. And plus, I kind
Yeah.
of hate some of the things that happen in the theater now. With the worst is like, okay, well, are you ready? See how bright that is?
Yeah.
People's cell phones just lighting up. And I'm telling you, I'm like a hummingbird. I'm just like, oh, like I get distracted by that stuff. So,
Squirrel. And
yeah, well, I will stare at that damn phone until you put it down, and until I have to.
throwing popcorn at it.
Like I've even told a guy, look, like he had his phone lit up. It was all during previews. Okay, I like previews. Like I like
Yeah.
watching trailers, but I
Right. Me
dealt with
too.
it. I live with it. But I said as soon as that last thing goes and that logo for the movie starts, I want that guy's phone off,
Yeah.
and it can go off. So I had to do one of these cell phones off, please. Like nice. He didn't
Yeah.
turn it off, and then I had to be that guy. Cell
Mm.
phones off, please, like that, right? And then he like
Yeah.
gives me the dirty look, like I'm the one that's got my cell phone. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's things like that that really kind of ruin the experience. But I still love going out. But
Yeah.
heard it in the cinema, although I tend to watch them more at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna throw back now. I got a
All
question.
right. Yeah.
Worst experience in the cinema?
Worst in the
Like one that you were like, oh man, I'm not saying that because I've
like the
rarely left.
movie
I've
or
like
just
not the movie, the experience, the people, not just the cell phone thing, but was there something else that was like, oh man, I really hated that? Because I've
oh
got one.
yeah
I've got one for you, but
yeah. I just thought of one. This would okay. It's nuts. So they were having a retro screening of Alien. So my buddy Mike and I went out to go see this. It's freaking Alien. Let's go, man. It's like in the 90s, right? So it's 20 years after the film. It's probably why it came out, right? It's probably some anniversary year. And dude, the movie starts, and all of a sudden people start talking, and it comes out our left ear. I'm like, and then we turn in our seats. Dude, it's like the entire audio shifted, like it pivoted like 25% this way. So
whoa,
center channel was coming out of our left ear, so we had to turn and kind of look at the screen. And I'm like, and then the stuff behind us was off to the right. I'm like, it was awful, man. Like that was like
that would mess me up. That would mess me up.
We went out and told the guys, but it took way too long. It was that's you
Yeah.
don't do that, man.
No, you don't do that. So Basement Blue showed up. Tony, thank you so much for
What's
jumping
up,
in.
Tony?
And then Movie Hunter 2020 has a question. Huck, if you could do a morning mug with any one actor as a co-host, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's fun.
Great question.
Look, I'll just cut to the chase. If like
Keanu Reeves?
Matter, yes or no. What'd you say?
Keanu Reeves? Get him back?
He's in the top 5, but
Right.
I would love William Shatner, man. If
Oh, dude.
Mother Love and Shatner sitting like next to me, and I could just that guy, Kirk aside, who I love Captain Kirk, right? But
Yeah.
just that guy's energy and his enthusiasm for life and how he just doesn't stop. The guy at 91 goes into freaking space. Like he's such a curious individual. That's what I've learned about him is if you ever saw Shatner's Raw Nerve, do you ever see that show? Oh man,
Yes.
that show, like he would really ask people questions and listen. Like so many people that they just like morning shows, they'll ask a question, they'll giggle and then move on. I'm like,
and then move on to the next question. Yeah.
But he would listen, man. And
yeah. Jared's joining us. Hey, Jared, I just wanted to say hi to you before we move on. But yeah, oh man,
Okay.
totally. So, so now I got another story. So I used to live next door to William Shatner.
No way.
Yeah. So he had a ranch up here where I live.
Right.
And and we were actually taking care of the horse ranch just up the hill from him. So his ranch and the ranch that we were tending to were next to each other. And I actually ran into him, and he was like, "Hey, I'm Bill," and I was like, "Hey," and I was like 16, and he goes, "Hey, you want to come and watch a movie?"
Shut up.
In my guest house, I watched Star Trek 4 with him in his living room.
No.
And he made me a sandwich. He catered the event.
Wow.
He was like he poured some iced tea for me, and he was like, "Hey, sit and watch the movie. Tell me what you think." And I was like, he was like, "I got a screener of this movie. It's not out yet. Take a look at it." And I was like,
it had not come out
it
yet.
hadn't been released yet.
dog. Wow,
That was like one of my like major moments.
that's your
And
Keanu Reeves. That's
and
what
it
the
was
whole
yeah,
time.
and it was with Bill Shatner. So
I was
that was an amazing thing. Um,
done. See, then I have to have you on as a co-host, and Shatner will be in the middle, and then we can all just wax
then we can
poetic.
just tag team. I don't know. I don't. He probably wouldn't remember me because when I was 16, I was like knee high to grasshopper.
Right.
But no, yeah, thanks, Tony. Yeah, that's like one of my favorite stories. I met a lot of celebrities. I mean, because celebrities live up here
Yeah.
where I live, because this is like a country town in California, and so this is kind of where they vacation, where they could come up here and vacation. So I've run into Nev Campbell, John C. Riley, and
Nice.
um, not Keanu Reeves, but Cameron Diaz.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
a couple other people. They were actually looking to buy houses up here, or maybe look at getting property. Some I've given directions to campgrounds and stuff, and I'm like, oh hey, I know you.
Hey, you. Like,
Hey, you're moderately famous. And then
moderately.
moderately famous. There was one person that was like I've seen him before. He did the new the reboot of the Knight Rider series.
Oh yeah. That's
So I met
Sam Jones.
yeah, I didn't know his name at the time, but it was right after the writer's strike and his show was canceled.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he was going up to camp at Mineral King, and I was like, he stopped for directions, and I'm like, oh hey, you're moderately famous. I know you.
Because that was when it was the 18 wheeler, right? Knight Rider 2000.
No,
Was
no,
it
the
that one?
the, no, the new series. When the writer's strike happened, I think it was around what 2011.
Oh, okay. So not yeah.
Yeah, the
So that because there was
new
another Knight
the
Rider in the middle.
yeah, this was like a new Knight Rider, brand new kid doing all the stuff. He did an episode of Castle, and I recognized the
Oh,
kid, but I didn't know his name. It's gonna bug me now. I'm gonna have to go look it up here in a second. But um, just stuff like that. Just
it's fun.
randomly
It's
meet
fun.
celebrities. I ran into Patty LaBelle at LAX one time, and I was like, "Hey,
I don't know.
Patty LaBelle." It's like I gotta say hi to you. And
See, the closest I came to Bill Shatner, we were in a movie theater, and
Mm,
and we saw him come in. A friend of mine, she goes, "Is that your guy?" I'm like, "My guy." It's like, "That's Bill
my
Shatner."
guy, that's my guy right there.
It's Bill Shatner, and of course, he's sitting next to other people, and you could tell like he just shook their hand because he wanted to make sure everybody was cool around him. I'm like, oh, what I would give to be that guy that he sat next to say, hey, let's watch a movie together. And so I'm like, I gotta say something. It's Bill Shatner. And at the time, Boston Legal was hot,
Mm,
and so he was one row from the aisle, where you could cross and go get your drinks and stuff. And so as I'm crossing in front, I do one of these fake. I just noticed you moves. I'm like, I did one of those.
hey,
Right? Name and instead of saying Captain Kirk, I went Denny Crane right on. Because that's the new character he's been doing, and he just won an Emmy for it. And I just did, the old fist bump, and he
yeah,
leaned across and he gave me a fist bump. I'm like, all right. I didn't
nice.
mention Kirk. I went Danny Crane, so and then I moved on. Yeah,
That's the way to go. That's the way to
didn't
go.
overstay my
Yeah,
welcome.
nice. But yeah, no, it was interesting because that when I was taking care of that ranch up there, so I had Bill Shatner below me, and then above me was James Garner.
Damn, son, nice.
The only problem is that the extent of my introduction to James Garner was when he said, "Get the f off my property,"
Well,
because I was trying to catch a horse that had got jumped the fence and it was on his property, so I went to go get it, and he was not very he was and I was like, "Hey, Jim Frockford," and he was like, "Get the hell,
we'll fuck your
get
ass
out of
off
here,
my
kid!" And I
property.
was like, "I'm just getting my horse. I'm gone," and
I'll be
not
there
a
in about
very not a very pleasant person. So, but Bill Shatner was a great guy.
nice.
All right, so let's get into your first movie.
Let's go, man. What's
Um,
it gonna be?
what's it gonna be? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by the toe, and your first movie is Rocky.
Oh, all right.
So, 1976. Yeah. Oh, dude, it's a
And I grabbed this one just because I loved it. I mean, I got the Blu-rays,
yeah.
DVDs. I
I,
just
I've yeah,
love
I've
this
yeah,
story.
I've got the Blu-ray collection.
Yeah, I got that
Um,
too.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
love this
such a good movie.
for so many reasons.
Yep.
I love it for so many reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the first
Take it
thing
away.
we take it away. The first thing we look at is the cast, and the
Mm-hmm.
cast is the only thing that's kind of a constant. So when you're thinking of the cast, this is basically about recognition. So if you know the person by name and by face, for example, Sylvester Stallone,
Hmm.
you give them 2 points. If you know a cast member by face but not name, like Adrian, I've seen her before, but I don't know her
Yeah.
name,
Right.
you give that 1 point. And that accumulates up to a maximum of 10.
Okay. All right. So
So,
you're almost digging at least 5 actors
right. So you're
to do
thinking if
that.
you know 5 actors by face and name, 10 points.
Now, is that now, like looking at the movie and I see those faces, like now?
That's a very good question. And I've
Because,
actually had people do both ways.
yeah.
I usually go, okay, now, but if you could also think if you're looking back then, did I recognize these guys? And how many points would I give it based on that?
Yeah. Well, so I think,
Right.
well, I'm going to have to lean into the now just because
Yeah.
I've chosen, I mean, as a child, as childhood favorite films, I
Yeah.
didn't know any of these actors when
Right.
any of these movies came out.
Right.
But I will do it, and that does come into play in other films that I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know names and
Yeah.
faces.
And
Uh,
there is a default that you can take and before you get your score. So if the movie came out before you were born or at a young age, and I know there's one that's before both of us, at
mhm,
least one,
right, right.
um, then you can give it an automatic 4
Hmm. Okay,
because you're like I don't know the cast. I also consider that for foreign films. If you have a foreign film in your list, you don't this time, but I've had other people that do, but you don't recognize the foreign actors by name,
right.
but you're like, but I love this movie. It's one of my favorites, so you just give it an automatic 4 for the cast because it's a
Okay,
foreign film and you don't know the cast members.
all
So
right.
so we can take that into consideration, especially for one. There's one for sure that I was like, what's way before I was born. It's gonna be a 4, and then if you recognize someone on top of that still, then you can add a point for each person you recognize.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. All
All
right.
right, so let's get to Rocky. Um, you have I see how many people you recognize from that movie.
Oh, do we have a show and tell coming?
No, so well, I'm going to IMDb to
Okay.
kind of
Oh, okay.
to
The
kind
way
of
you said, I
grab the
was like, oh,
grab
here
the
comes a
cast.
slideshow.
So if who would you recognize from this? My thing was obviously Sylvester Stallone, Carl Weathers, and Burgess Meredith.
Hmm.
And then yeah, Talia Shire I didn't know, but by
Oh, when you were
face,
doing
oh, when
this?
I was when I was doing the score myself.
Yeah.
So this is kind of how I did it. I was like, okay, I know Sylvester Stallone, I know Carl Weathers, and I know
Yeah.
Burgess Meredith. Burgess
Right.
Meredith was the Penguin in the original Batman series, so
Right
he's the
on.
only one.
Hell
He's the only one I knew from before this movie. So he's the one
yeah.
I only
Right.
knew for sure. And then I think I probably knew or at least recognized Sylvester Stallone, at least at some level. If I'm going back to '76,
Hmm.
which I was 6 years old, uh, so that was a pretty young age for me. So how many people did you recognize in here, Huck? And then we can
Well,
score that.
so I mean, when I watch it, I reckon because I know it so well, I know all the faces. So I know Burt Young, I know Talia Shire, and then the three you talked about. So
Mhm.
if I'm going for 5 people of the main cast, I recognize names and faces of all 5 people.
Okay. All right. So you're at 10.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing is the acting. So this is basically your
Okay.
opinion, how the acting was, and this kind of goes with the cast. So based on the recognition of the cast, was the acting up to par, or did somebody that you recognize kind of phone in the acting,
Mhm.
stuff like that. And so you
Gotcha.
kind of rated on a 1 to 10 based on that scale. So what would you think for the acting on a 1 to 10?
Because this film often floats into my number one spot. Um, I think the acting is absolutely a 10, and I'll tell you from everyone. And I'll tell you why. Because Stallone, he fought to be this character, and if he's not believable as this character, you're not going to be all in at the end when that Bill Conti music is swelling and you're excited. And even Carl Weathers as his rival. I mean, he was so good, and he wasn't an a-hole. He was just a cocky, athlete who was at the top of his game, who was
Mm-hmm.
giving a punk a shot,
Yeah.
and full of piss and vinegar, and he played
Yeah.
that to perfection.
Yeah.
Talia Shire doing that, meekish girl who falls for Rocky, and you believe it. See, there's the thing. If
Yeah.
you can believe that Talia Shire can, her Adrian can fall in love with Rocky, those two are doing something right. And
Yeah.
then Burt Young is just an asshole, and he's
Yeah.
playing it to the hilt.
Yeah.
And I like he's not a likable character. And then Burgess Meredith, so
Yeah.
good. So for me, it's a 10.
Sure. Absolutely. It was a 10 for me too. I was like, no bones about it. This was a brilliantly done movie. I believed all the parts. Burgess Meredith, I thought was stellar as Mick. I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, and Burt
should have
Young,
got that
yeah,
Oscar.
yeah, he should have got that Oscar.
Mhm.
Burt Young, and Burt Young actually used to be a boxer before movies, and was like got like 17-0 or something. He was like really good.
Look at that.
Um, Under a different name though, he fought, and I can't remember his name. It was like Blonsky or something like that, but like his real name, and then he changed his name to Burt Young and became an actor. But anyway, um, all
Trivia.
right, so let's go to the plot. This is an interesting one. This is kind of a
All right.
wild card as it turns out.
Mhm.
So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the plot from IMDb, and without knowing anything else about the movie,
All right.
cast, nothing else, how likely would you be to watch it based on that plot?
Okay.
Okay? So here we go. And this again, 1 to 10 scale.
All
If you didn't
right.
know anything else about the movie, how likely would you be to watch this or buy it based on what you read in IMDb? So here we go. A small-time Philadelphia boxer gets a supremely rare chance to fight the world heavyweight champion in a bout in which he strives to go the distance for his self-respect.
Cool. All right. Um, okay.
That's actually pretty good for
Yeah, that's
for
pretty
an
good.
IMDb plot. But yeah, I get some rare ones to where we're gonna be like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, did
It's
you ever hear that that TV Guide write up of here? I'll explain to you. So, girl visits strange land, teams up with four strangers to kill to kill someone or something like that. It's
that's
like
Wizard of Oz.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the most hilarious write up. So it's like
yeah,
if you read that, you would not watch that movie. Um,
exactly. So
anyway,
that's
so
kind of the theme. So based on just that
yeah.
block, how likely would you be to watch that movie on a scale of
Well,
1 to 10?
so here's the thing. So I wouldn't even. The irony is, the fact that I love this movie is also sort of strange because I wouldn't say I'm a huge sports movie person.
Right.
So I would probably say like that's a 7,
Okay.
maybe,
Nice.
because I would see it and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. But to me, that sounds like a lot of inspirational sports movies. You could probably read that and plug in like Rudy or whatever else. So yeah, I wouldn't say that plot summary is something like that's a 10.
Hmm.
So I'll go with that.
Nice. Okay. The fourth thing, and like I said, these are going to be in all the movies. We're going to look at these first 5 aspects for every movie.
All right.
The fourth thing is the ending. So, and this is, did you get the closure that you wanted? Did it end the way you wanted? Did you, did you like that there might have been a sequel coming? Did it hint to that? It's basically how you felt about how the movie ended. Were you
Yeah.
satisfied when you shut it off, or when you walked out of the theater? On a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel about that?
I was actually getting like
Goose,
literally goosebumps thinking about the ending.
right?
I'm going to tell you why this is probably one of my favorite film endings of all time. That fight is so well choreographed. I mean, swing for swing, punch for punch, like they worked that out so well. And it's Bill Conti's music. Damn it! Like
Hmm.
that wasn't even nominated.
Yeah.
Like it won Best Picture because that music. It's sort of like John Williams. Like when they put John Williams music, like Spielberg said, George, you need to get John to do Star Wars, and it elevated that film. This Bill
Right.
Conti's music elevates that thing, and when it gets
Yeah.
to the end, and you see through the crowd, Apollo Creed's looking, and he's trying to see if he's won. Rocky
Hmm.
doesn't give a crap. He's weaving his way, trying to get to
He's
Adrian.
just trying to get to Adrian. Yeah.
The original ending.
Yeah.
When the producers saw that and his music, they're like, we need to do something else for this end. and
Yeah.
because they were just going to hold hands and leave through the exit, you know. In
Hmm.
fact, that's what my poster is. I have a poster of Rocky that's Stallone signed, and that's the image of them leaving. But you never saw that, right? Because instead he finds her and he holds her, and she's there for him, and that moment, like I couldn't care less that he didn't win. It's one of the few movies where somebody doesn't win, like you really want him to win, and it was absolutely irrelevant that he won. He just wanted to go the distance. Is why it chokes me up. He just wants to go the distance. He was saying that to Adrian the night before. Is it laying in
Hmm.
bed? And he's like, I just want to go to distance. That's all I want to do. It's all he
Yeah.
wanted to do. He did it. Ah,
Yeah.
it's a 10, baby. 10.
Nice. Yeah, it's a beautiful ending. I absolutely loved it. And I feel the same way because I was like, oh, I think about that ending, and yeah, it's just you get the goosebumps, you get the chicken skin, however you want to call it, and
The
it's like
chicken skin
they get that chicken skin.
rose.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so the last thing of the first five is the story. Now the
Okay.
story is basically like if the plot is the seed, the story is the forest. So um, beginning, middle, and end. Were there any slow spots? Did the story kind of give way a little bit? Did you get everything you wanted from the beginning and middle and end? Did you have any questions? Things like that. How would you rate the story, the total story of the
Mm.
movie on a 1 to 10 scale?
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably give it an 8, a good
Okay.
strong 8 for that story, because see, here's the thing too, especially choosing older films, it's a '70s film, so you got that '70s pace, and for me, a lot of '70s films suffer from that pace. This is one of those few '70s films I do not think suffers from the pace because of that great acting and great,
And great
performances,
and great score.
music, yeah, and
Yeah.
and the directing by John Avildsen is so stunning. So I think that helps drive that for me to like an 8. I just don't recall. Like I could pop it in right now and I would just watch it right to the end. Like I don't think I'd
Hmm.
walk away for say a bathroom break or something.
Okay. Right. Oh yeah. No. Every time I see that on TV, I'll just sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
and
who
if
doesn't want
if
to run up the steps? And
who doesn't want to run? Yeah, who doesn't want to run up? I'll run up my steps here in my
yeah,
house
not the
every
same.
time, and then
Yeah,
no, it's not the same, and I end up asthma attack or something, and
yeah. You slip,
um,
you bust
it
your
just
face
a
on the
slip and
stairs.
just pow. Oh,
Well,
and
I'm not Rocky.
I'm still bleeding. So, but, um, all right, so I labeled this as a drama
Yes.
for the genre, and the type of movie is a sports movie because it's
Okay.
centered around boxing, right?
Right.
So our first three aspects are going to be based on the drama genre. Our last two are going to be based on the sports type.
Okay.
So for the drama, the first thing is the interest in the subject matter. How interested? And you said you're not much of a sports
I got it.
fan. So
Yeah.
how interested are you in the subject matter of just like a boxing movie in general or this type of drama?
I mean, honestly, that's where we're going.
Right.
Boxing is one of my least favorite sports. So, like, I mean, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have to be honest and just say 5. Like,
Okay.
cause like when another boxing movie comes along, I don't care. Like, I don't go, oh, it's another boxing movie. I need to go see it. This to me is an exception to that rule, and we'll probably get in some. I'll save that, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would just say the fact that it's a boxing movie isn't what drew me to it. So
Nice.
I
Well,
guess
that's
it's
fine. The other two are going to completely make up for that, I think.
yeah.
So the next thing is the script. How would you rate the script on a 1 to 10?
Man, I mean, I gotta say, I think the script's a 10. I think the script is. I mean, and exactly you just said it turned it on my ear
Yeah.
because I don't care about boxing, and this is
And this
always my
made
top
you care
sports
about
of
this movie.
all time.
Exactly.
That's a 10.
Yeah.
It can't be less than that and have me love it that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Stallone just crafted, and it's not a complicated story. It's a love story. It's two stories. It's that. It's also a story of, um, you know, glory. Not glory. It's
Mm.
just what is it? Just beating the odds. Getting that second.
Perseverance. It's just like, yeah. Um, Yeah, Turner fan agrees with that. Total 10. Um,
Nice.
yeah, no, I agreed with that too. And I just realized I was banging on my desk and kind of shaking the camera when
Yeah,
we
mine
were
does too.
talking.
It's got like this
I was like,
earthquake. Yeah.
uh,
Sorry, guys, we're
it's
excited.
it's not. Yeah, we're yeah. Um, but oh man, though,
Yeah.
totally a 10. Great thing. The the last aspect of the drama genre that I'm looking for is cinematography.
Okay.
So, what did you think of the cinematography here on a scale of 1 to 10?
Here's the great thing about it. It's not. It's funny. I can't call it a 10 for
Right.
cinematography because it's not that. However, because Adelson and the cameraman created the Steadicam literally for this movie and used it to such perfection, running through the streets, putting it in the ring, the use of cinematography is absolutely phenomenal.
Hmm.
So because of that, without it being like cinematic in its scope, which would maybe
Right.
put it 10, but its usefulness of that thing, I put it probably an 8.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to follow that up with a nice little picture,
Yeah, baby.
um, because that was the first picture I saw. I was like, okay, um, that was kind of what I was talking about. What I liked about the cinematography was how focused, and instead of it being these huge, wide panoramic shots and these beautiful
Right.
sceneries, it was the ring was the world,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's all you saw. You get a little bit of the crowd, but when those two were fighting, it was just them and the ring, and that was it. That was the universe as
It's
far as
fantastic.
the camera went, and I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so the last two things have to
Yeah.
do with the sport. So the
Okay.
first thing is, how do you think they portrayed the sport itself of boxing on a 1 to 10? And what
Um,
would you give that? Because and this is an interest. This is going to be an interesting score. I'm
yeah.
curious as to where
Yeah.
you go with this
Yeah.
because of how little interest you have in boxing
Yeah.
generally, but how much you love this movie and
Yeah.
how it portrayed the sport. So
I mean, I think it portrayed it extremely well because it also didn't. It wasn't the focus, if that makes sense. Even though it is like he's a boxer
it,
and it's
it,
about
it
that
is,
fight,
but it's not. Yeah.
it is, but it's not like it's not just like it's a boxing movie. No, it's a personal triumph kind of movie,
Hmm.
and boxing happens to be the vehicle in which that happens.
Right.
So I would probably wow because I mean it certainly makes me like boxing more. Like if I see boxing or I see boxing in other movies,
Right.
quite frankly, I compare them to Rocky. Like if it's not as exciting as
E-
Rocky, I'm like, this is
exactly.
boxing
Yeah.
bores me.
And I think well, as we get through most of these movies, it's these movies of these movies here is what I compare other movies of that type to. This is like these are like
Yeah,
the example.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. You're dialing in to why I picked
I,
these. Nice.
yeah. So no,
Uh,
I totally got that. I was like, oh man, because every time I watch a boxing movie, like say for example, Southpaw is one that I really liked with Jake Gyllenhaal.
yeah,
Um, where I'll anything like that I'll compare to Rocky. I can of course Creed I'll compare those to Rocky,
hmm
but any of those boxing movies, Play It
even
to the
Raging
Bone with
Bull.
Antonio Banderas and things like that, to where I'm like, okay, I'm looking at Rocky as the stage. That sets the stage. This is the bar right here, and
Yeah,
then can you come close to that bar? I'm not expecting you to pass it because this is like it, but
right.
can you come close? And Dell joined us. Thanks, Dell, for joining
Yeah,
us.
yeah. So Dell,
And then everybody's saying hi to each other.
movie hunter.
Okay,
So what? How do I
so
elevate it? Or,
how were you at on the sport itself? What score would you give that, or did you already give me a score?
I
Because I
didn't.
didn't write it down.
I guess that's a hard one.
Yeah, I was kind
Uh,
of hoping to stump you a little bit.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just toss out a 7
Okay.
because it definitely is higher than my love for the sport.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it could be even 7.5. So,
Yeah. Because I figured, I figured we'd fall somewhere in between the interest and the script.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
about
Pretty much.
right where you would
That's why I
be, and
picked.
that's about it. I figured about a 7 or 8. And then the last thing, and you were talking about it, is the triumph. And what I love about sports movies is that triumph over adversity, and
Yeah.
the thing, did he accomplish his goals, and did he triumph over this whole thing, or was that a letdown? What did you think of the triumph on a scale of 1 to 10? And
Well,
because
I mean,
because
you're right. I did kind of answer it. I mean, look, it is a 10. Like, it
uh-huh.
cannot. I don't think. I think this is why he was so good, Avildsen, at directing Karate Kid. You got that same
Oh
joyful love when Danielson threw that kick and took down Johnny. You were pumped, right? So that's that feeling even more so in this film. That ending to me is such a when it rolled into Rocky 2, which I think it feels to me like the first movie just rolled right into Rocky 2 and the story kept going. That's how seamless I felt Stallone wrote and directed that second film.
yeah.
Uh, and I liked it just as much. I don't, yeah.
No,
So that's
I liked 2 just as much.
it's a wonderful
Um,
story. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I would have been completely on board with that 10 if he'd have won.
Oh, see, I didn't.
That's the only thing. That's the only reason why I gave it a 9 was
Yeah,
because he actually won in Rocky 2. So
me
that one
too.
got the
But
10.
that's what I love. It
But
rolls in.
I love that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
Rocky 2, 10.
Yeah. 10. Rocky 2, 10.
Let's go.
Karate Kid equals Karate Rocky.
Karaki. Let's call it Karaki.
Karaki. It's
We're calling it
Karaki.
right now. Hashtag Karaki.
Hashtag Karaki.
Let's do it.
Nice. Um, all right. Are you ready for your second hot seat question?
Whew. All right. Here we go. All right, Rocky. Let's move on.
Rocky was good. I already did the score on that. It's a good start. So let's get going. Question number 2. Question number 2 is:
Mm.
what is your favorite snack and or beverage for movie watching?
Oh yeah, I'll give you an and. There's no or. It's a
It,
double whammy.
I
Uh,
because some people give me an or and where they're like, oh, I like this and that, but I like both. I want my snack and I want my drink.
dude,
So
you gotta wash that snack down with something. I mean, look, you can't if it's just a dry snack or a chocolate snack. Look, for me, it is popcorn. I freaking love. I just literally had a bag 2 days ago. I was by myself. I'm like, and I was watching Action Jackson. I don't know if you saw my review on
oh, there
that.
you go, Carl Weathers.
I was noshing down a bag of popcorn while watching that, and Carl was awesome in that. Anyway,
Oh yeah,
so yeah, that and a Coke Icy. Hell yeah. Coke Icy.
nice.
Coke Icy,
Because you got to have the salty and the sweet.
it's the best, man.
Throw it
Best.
together.
I
Nice.
even have my daughter loving ices now. In fact,
That's
check
great.
it out. In case people don't know and they're watching this, it is $3 movie weekend on Saturday. So any theater at any showing in any format. So you could literally go see an IMAX showing of Top Gun Maverick for $3 on Saturday. So get out there, look at. I've already bought my tickets. My wife and daughter hadn't seen Maverick, so for $9, we're gonna go see Maverick.
Nice.
For all three of us. It's a great deal, man. Get it,
Nice. I might be on board with that for sure.
dude.
Um,
See a whole bunch in one day.
so doesn't seem like your snack choice. Does your snack and movie choice change between the theater and at home?
No. Well, yes, because I don't
I was like,
have
you can't really do the icy unless you're going to hit a 7-Eleven on the way.
Yeah, so it would be this. So I got iced tea right here, and that is my drink of choice at the house all the time. Yeah, baby.
Yep.
That's what I'm drinking too. Like, wait,
Yep.
is that Gold Leaf?
It's Gold Peak. Yeah.
Gold Peak. Yeah, I always mix it. Yes, that's what I'm drinking in here right now. It's
Yep.
the subtly sweet one, or the slightly
Yep.
sweet.
No, I
Yeah,
do. Unsweetened all the way. I can't do any sweetener. And this is actually I actually already drank the Gold Peak and I made sun tea with this.
Ah.
So and then I put it in the freezer for 3 hours and that's what I've got for the show. So it's
Good
nice and
call.
cold. But yeah, iced tea is my go-to.
Same.
And yeah, I'm totally a popcorn dude in the theater. But at home, it's chocolate covered banana chips. That's my go-to.
Oh yeah, I remember you
That's
saying that. That's nice.
that's my thing. And if I get it, it's weird. I get it in bulk at the grocery store. Well, it's an hour drive for me to get to the grocery store, but
Damn.
um,
Oh, because you live
and
up.
we've got 100 just showed up.
What's up, 100?
What's up, man? Thank you so much for joining us. Um, but yeah, so I'm like in a podunk town. There's 1,500
Yeah.
people here, so for me to go like actual grocery shopping, it's an hour drive. I'm going to go try to do a Costco or major groceries or something like that. But we do have like a small market. I can get little things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but but yeah, to get my chocolate covered banana chips, I got to go to town,
You got to go fight
and
Bill Shatner for
I
those suckers.
I got to fight. Give me that. But now Bill doesn't live here anymore, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
he sold his ranch, I think in the '90s, and just I think he's still in Iowa. I think he's still got his ranch in Iowa, but
Nice. Yeah, he's out of
he's
California.
like, I'm out of California. Screw this place. It sucks.
Later,
Um,
Square.
all right.
One team.
You're low on tea. You're gonna need to get a refill.
I think
If
I
you need
put
to
a
take
little
a
too much.
break at any time, my friend, you can. I will allow you to go get tea.
Yeah, not yet. We'll maybe I'll call my wife's watching too. Honey, you can come grab me some tea.
Bring me some tea. I'm getting low. Dave's talking too much. All right. So movie number two is
Go. Oh,
American Werewolf in
oh,
London.
hells yeah.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Once again, this is the movie, and yeah, I have the same.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah, that's right. Um,
Um, just make
it
me feel that
is
moment.
like
Smelling it,
just like
hugging
I
it.
I compare all boxing movies to
Oh,
Rocky. I compare. Oh,
nice.
see, there she is.
My wife is the best.
Right. But
Oh
just like
God.
we compare, high
Yeah.
five. Oh, you're just
Oh,
resetting.
there it is.
Nope,
Yeah,
you're
I was
uh, you're
blurred out.
blurry for a second. Autofocus is
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yeah. So American Werewolf. Woo!
American Werewolf in London. This is an interesting one. So this is
This
from
one will be
1981.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like I said, just like I compare all boxing movies to Rocky, I compare every werewolf movie to this one.
Damn right.
This is the quintessential werewolf movie because people are telling me, "Oh yeah, no, there's no. I'm sorry, there's no better werewolf movie
I know
as far as
people
I'm
want
concerned."
to say there is. Oh, thank
There
you.
are people are saying, I love me some other ones. See, awesome.
The best.
My wife would be like, "I'm sorry, are you guest or are you family?"
Yeah. Go get your own damn
You're a
drink.
family. Go get your own. Go get your own tea.
Hey, honey, I'm on TV. Screw
I
that.
don't care. Um,
Yeah, man. It's the best
no.
werewolf
Oh,
movie.
so good.
Hands down.
All right, so let's talk about the cast.
Let's talk. All right.
So this is an interesting one because
Yes.
I think still to this day I don't recognize a lot of the cast.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm. That's where we're headed. For this one. So I can tell you that I know. But here's the thing too. When I was young too, and I got fascinated by actors or whatever, I learned their names. It was such a weird thing because I wanted to know who's this guy. I was like, he's a Dr. Pepper guy. His name's David Naughton. Who's that other guy? It's Griffin Dunn. So
Yeah.
that's it. It's kind of where it stops. You know, so I recognize those two and I know their names. And I know now, I mean, Jenny Agutter. So I can say there's three cast members that I know by face and name. In fact, when she appeared in, what was it? It was Captain America Civil War. I literally
Okay.
went, hey, American Werewolf.
Hey.
Because that's how long it had been since I feel like I had seen her in anything.
Yeah.
And it did take me a hot second to go, what was her name again? Oh, Jenny Allgood. Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's how out of the mind
Nice.
she was.
All right. So
Yeah.
you got 3, so that puts you at 6 points for that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think all the other faces, all the people in the bar. It's all Brits. It's like nobody famous. Yeah, I can't. Nothing else pops into my head. That's it.
Yep. That's totally cool. But oh man, gotta love this movie.
In fact,
All right.
what questions
So
you have about this one?
let's talk about the acting.
Yeah,
What do you think about the acting here on a 1 to 10? And again, if you don't know a whole lot of the cast, maybe the acting's better on some of the guys you didn't know. So
yeah,
this may give a chance by making the acting score a little bit higher
yeah,
because the cast score is lower. So
yeah. And the
um,
last thing is because I had no preconceived notion of who these actors were when I saw it.
mhm.
You can get lost in that. Like when you watch it, they're those characters. You know, you're not watching a Tom Hanks movie. It's like, oh, it's Tom
Yep.
Hanks, it's Tom Cruise. You know, you're looking at, for me, fresh faces, and they were
Mhm.
these characters. And because it was such a fantastic blend of this weird like horror comedy, like what I mean, what do you what kind of box do you put this movie in? That's how
Mm.
interesting it is.
Right.
Uh, and I mean, just I mean, I hate to push it to 10, but I feel like because it was such an experiment, like this thing could have flopped because it's mixing so many genres.
Yeah.
And if they weren't all on their A game and selling it, uh, I don't think I'd love it as much as I do. So I kind of feel like I got to lean to 10 on the actors
Okay.
for.
No. Nice. Um. So yeah, Brian Miller want to say, don't forget that she was in Child's Play too.
Oh yeah, I know she was in a bunch of stuff. I just feel like
Yeah.
she, like
Felt
I
like
didn't
it's like
hear it a lot.
don't
Like
remember her. Yeah.
yeah,
And then of course, Dell on movies it says easily it's the best werewolf movie.
there
So
we go, Dell. No
that's
argument
right.
here.
We know. All right, so let's go to the plot. IMDb. We'll see what they got and let's
Oh
score it.
no! All right.
Okay, here we go. Two American college students on a walking tour of Britain are attacked by a werewolf that none of the locals will admit exists.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow, that's like a 6.
Right?
that, that is not good. That does not. Yeah, if I read that, I'm like, what the hell?
What?
Oh,
What is this? What werewolf?
is
I'm.
that even
I'm like you kind of had me at werewolf. I was like, okay, werewolf. I'm kind of
See,
down,
that,
but
I think the word werewolf is the only thing that puts it at a 6. Otherwise, I feel
yeah,
like it's a 4 or 5 without the word
yeah,
werewolf tucked in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that way. All right, so let's talk about the ending.
All right.
What
Oh.
What'd you think about the What'd you think about the ending here?
So here's the thing. The ending, it's just so sad. It makes me sad. You know.
Yeah.
Um, I the end, like the ending, like the very ending,
Like
not like the great mauling and the biting the heads off because that's a 10. But
yeah.
when you right
Well,
to
you can kind of throw that in there because that kind of closes everything out.
yeah, it
But
is the
yeah,
crescendo
yeah,
to the
exactly.
thing.
So I included that.
Okay. Oh, geez. Okay, if I'm including that. Wow. I think I would still give it an 8
Okay.
because I mean, God, it's only because like all of that great horror stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it puts it right there at the 8. And then I
Mm-hmm.
think just the sad ending, it's not to me like Rocky. Like him not winning is not the same as him not living.
Right.
um, because it wasn't his fault, that
Right.
he got bit and he was cursed,
Yeah.
and Jenny's just in tears. And I mean, it's a
Yeah.
great, I love the ballsy move, like
Yeah.
by Landis to direct that and say it's not a
Yeah.
Hollywood ending.
Yeah.
That I applaud tenfold. Um, but yeah, I think I'll just pop it down to an 8 because,
Okay.
I would love it if somehow there was a way. I don't know. It's kind of stupid though. You can't really. I mean, he's cursed. So
Yeah. All right. And then the last thing is the story.
uh-huh.
So what do you think of the story on a 1 to 10? Beginning, middle, and end. How do you think it played out?
I think it's great. I mean, it is hands down one of the, if not the, as we said, best
And
werewolf
and
film.
you said itself that it was crossing genres and
Yeah,
it was doing something that wasn't done back then.
yeah. I mean, 100%, and not just crossing. Let's just add that to the pot and mix it up.
Yeah.
And you've also got these practical effects, and I am to this day a fan of practical effects, makeup effects. Those things excite me. They just excite me. Like when I see that, I lose myself. Like I've always wanted to play. Yeah, there you go, man. When that hand starts growing,
That's my favorite. Oh my god.
and it's all being done to Bad Moon Rising. Are you
Yeah.
kidding? Like who mixes like he's being tortured and transformed, and you got this. There's a bad moon.
Bad mood. Oh
I'm
my
like,
god.
and I'm like, I'm
You're going,
riveted.
what the hell? Yeah.
Laying on the floor, and he looks up, and there's a Mickey Mouse, and he's like, oh, he's reaching for the Mickey Mouse, and he's like, I
Yeah.
didn't even know
As
you
his
could do
spine's
that.
like Just
Oh, and the sound effects. Oh
yeah,
God. I mean,
it was
Christ. Let's just.
it
I
was
mean,
horrifically awesome. That was yeah, that was epic. Okay,
I
so
guess.
what?
Yeah.
So we're gonna put a number on this for the story.
Story. I
Yeah,
mean, the story's got to be a 10 because I mean,
yeah.
I'd never seen a werewolf film done with such style, uh, and the makeup effects that Rick Baker created ended up creating the makeup category for the Academy Awards. That in 1981, that was the first year he was given the award, and from that year on, makeup has been an official Academy Award category
Hmm.
because of this film. That's a
Yeah,
10.
yeah. Brian Hunter says that transformation is the best ever,
Oh,
and I
I mean, it's that's the
completely
thing. You
agree
can
with
walk
that.
away talking about that. It's
Yeah,
just like, oh, so I just
yeah,
want to put that scene in right now.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh man, I would if they didn't like just ding the show.
Yeah. Oh, I know all about getting dinged, man.
Yeah. Um, but all right, so now we're talking genre, and yeah, it was a little hard to like put one genre on this
Uh huh.
because it's very much a comedy at the same time.
Yeah.
It is very funny, but I did call it a horror movie,
Yes.
and the type is werewolf, so it's a werewolf movie. And the first thing with the horror genre is the scares.
Oh yeah.
How would you rate the scares on a 1 to 10? And this is total scares. We're going to talk about a different type of scare. We're going to pull out and
Okay.
actually talk about that separately. But just like the creep factor, the scary stuff. I love the stuff with the dead friend that was decomposing through the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
That stuff was a trip. I was like,
Hey, hey,
is
David.
like
It's like, and at some point he's a puppet in the movie
yeah,
theater. And so
yeah.
David.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Oh my
Oh
God.
man. Okay,
The
so
scares.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like because it's really hard for me to say. Would you find the movie scary on a 1 to 10? I don't want to do that,
Right. Right.
but the the scare elements that are in the movie, how would you rate those on a 1 to 10? I think that's where I want to go.
So, all right. So here's how I see the scares in this film.
Hmm.
Landis directs this with such style because it's
Yeah.
about the buildup to every one of these. When that guy is in the subway and he's being chased POV by the werewolf, and he looks behind him and he's running, and he drops the briefcase and the umbrella. The umbrella is something he could have used as a weapon. Instead, he picks back up the briefcase, and Landis even holds on the umbrella,
Right.
showing you like, you should have picked that
He
up.
he didn't grab that.
No, and I'm like this, or like, because you're like, oh my God, and just the slow build, and he's running, and he trips, and the papers fly, and then there's just he takes his time, and the camera pans down, and you're just looking at the bottom of the escalator, and it's empty for like a good 6 seconds,
Hmm.
and then you see those feet come into frame, and then it cuts away. I'm like, it's like Jaws,
Yeah.
It's like
Oh yeah, yeah. Beautiful
slivers
analogy.
every moment
Yeah.
before it shows the face. And the face is always like it's always like every time you see
Yeah.
it, it's snap
It,
cut
it's yeah.
and the growl. So those were definite. I mean, just really good. Like, and I would because I would say it's one of those horror movies where it's just scary all the way through. But if
No.
I'm talking about those scares, I think it's
Yeah.
like a 9.
Good.
I feel like it's a 9.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty tense every time. Like I would literally start grabbing the chair when I felt like a kill was coming.
Yeah. Right. You get that tension, and you're
Yeah,
just kind of like something. Yeah, something's going on, and then bam.
bites that dude's
Um,
head up and it bounces off the hood of a car. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
like,
Yeah. So 100 says Rick Baker's work is brilliant. Dude knows
yeah,
makeup. Brian Miller says way better werewolf movie than The Howling.
I
I agree
agree.
with that. And then Dell says I always call this a dark comedy. Scares take a back seat to humor.
The humor,
I could see that.
a backseat.
I kind of put the scares in the front seat and I put the humor in the back for
Yeah,
me.
because see, I
Um,
feel like it because it's so good with the comedy. Because I wouldn't call it a comedy because they plug humor into tragedy,
yeah,
and and because so few people can do that well, it's like Shaun of the Dead. Now that I feel is a comedy,
Yes.
But this, I feel like it just, and that's how I think it does this brilliant balancing act of scary and funny, because it lightens you up with so much humor that,
Yeah.
man, when that scare
And then it
comes,
hits
you
you,
are
and it makes that
shocked.
even more. Yeah, it even
Yeah.
makes it more surprising and more frightening because,
And they're not
um,
funny. Like when
yeah,
those gory things hit, it is terrifying. It's like
yeah,
chewing the guts out or
yeah,
biting that dude's head off. Yeah.
yeah. Oh no,
Whew.
totally.
All right.
All right, so
Amped up on this show.
too moving right along. So aside from the scares, I like to pull out the jump scares. So
Okay.
these can be, like the in your face stuff, the stuff that kind of startles you. A different type of scare than just your general anticipation and tension
Sure.
in the movie, but or just being generally creeped out. Um, is the like the surprise factor or the jump scares is what I
The
call
jump
them.
scares.
So what do you think of the jump scares in this movie on a 1 to 10?
I'll say this too. I think it's one of the most brilliantly crafted jump scare movies because the thing you have to point out is the beginning when he's having the dream
Yeah,
and he opens the curtain and there's that guy and then just machine guns everybody and then he snaps awake, huh? And then she goes to the thing and curtains and then he's there again and you're like, oh, like
like you
he
thought you
said
were in
it's
this.
over.
Yeah, the dream was over, and then it was, yeah, you get another layer. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a dream in a dream. I'm like,
yeah,
and that's where I think this movie keeps succeeding in that regard. Just you because you by starting like that, you don't know where you're going ever.
yeah,
You don't know what to expect.
yeah.
So I don't remember how many there are, but I would say that they're good. Probably a good 8. I'd probably put an 8 on those jump scares
Nice.
because they're yeah they're pretty good.
Yeah, and then the
Can't
last
wait to hear
thing.
what you
Yeah,
say.
the last thing for the horror genre that I look for is special effects.
Oh
And in this case, the practical effects. How would you rate that on a 1 to 10? Or I'm just going to say, is there any reason that this is not a 10?
no, there's no. Thank you for just taking the time to
I'm
say
just,
that.
yeah.
No,
Sometimes when I go, oh, how'd you feel about this? And I'm like, you know what? That's
you
kind of
already
a stupid
know.
question. I think I know where we're going to go with this because
I
I
mean, look,
think the,
I
the the effects in this movie are brilliant. I
yeah,
mean, I would put them up against anything now,
yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
in
And
the
look, it's
stuff.
like just because you have CGI and you can doesn't mean you
Doesn't mean
did.
that you should. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. It's like Jurassic Park.
Yeah. As
Um,
if you could go practical and still get away, yeah, I would definitely choose practical over CGI. I mean,
yeah, that moment.
first
I mean, when
first
he
first and
transformed,
foremost, it makes the actors better
yeah, because they're in the makeup doing
because
the
they're in the makeup, they're doing the thing, they're going through the transformation, they're doing the stuff. They're not like looking at a tennis ball thinking, "Oh my God, that's a dinosaur." I gotta
right.
imagine that that's a dinosaur coming at me
Yeah,
instead of a tennis ball hanging there. Um, and I'm getting to the point where I can tell the difference in
yeah,
the acting, in the actual performance of the movie if they're looking at CGI versus practical effects.
right.
So yeah, no, I'm a big fan of practical effects, and this is like epic.
This
Okay, so as a werewolf movie, two things that we want to look for.
oh
One is the monster itself,
yeah.
and I'm shaking the table again. I'm shaking the camera. How did you feel about the monster itself on a 1 to 10?
I mean, like I literally have a book on my shelf. It's called Monsters in the Movies, and this face is on the cover. Um, it's a 10, man. That werewolf, like you
I,
just said earlier, this werewolf sets the standard that we judge
yeah,
all other werewolves
yeah,
by. And I mean, just the expression on the face and the eye. I mean, like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Again, it's like this is one of the things where I'm like, can we not? Is there any way that we couldn't give this a 10? Because, and I just don't see
I'm
that
not
we
sure.
can.
I'd have to find something. Like,
I'd
I'd
have to,
literally have to go. I
I'd
didn't
have to
like what the
really, I'd have to
sound.
really nitpick to go. Okay, I might give it a 9, but no, there's, um, man, it's so good, and I've never run into a werewolf movie as good. And this
Sweet.
brings me to the other point where again I'm gonna like, is this? There's no way this can't be a 10, and that's my. What is the? I mean, what is your the one thing that you look for in a werewolf movie? What is your favorite point, or what is something that you compare it to? Like it's a like there's um what am I thinking of?
Are
The
you talking
like
about the
just
transformations?
yes.
Like,
I mean,
like you
if I
saw,
was like the end all be all, like the first thing that you want in a werewolf movie, and that's the first thing I want is the transformation.
it's a kick-ass transfer. Yeah,
I
look, I mean,
want
I'll tell you, the when and I try to purge. It kind of hurts to even say these words, and I gave up on them. By the way, in the Twilight movies, right? When Taylor Lautner jumps in the air and just puffs into a werewolf, I'm like,
I was
are
like,
you
what?
kidding me? Is it that easy to just grow your spinal column and your weight and your mass and your hair just in
it
the blink
was
of an eye?
even easier than the Incredible Hulk transforming. It was just kind of it was
Blink of an
poof.
eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I ruined a T-shirt, big deal, and
And my
um
parents. Yeah.
yeah,
So to
and
me, man,
pants.
everything it's such a cop out now.
Yeah,
Like you might as well just be the werewolf already, because if you're gonna have a lame ass transformation that isn't horrifying, like I mean, this you every time he went
I
there, you
I
thought of that moment.
yeah. Every time I think of this movie, I think of that moment,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think of that song playing, and I think of him like it felt like the transformation of David Naughton in this movie took like 45 minutes. It
yeah,
was just
yeah.
it was
Like his
so
the body was really
grueling.
ripping
It
itself
was so
apart.
grueling and brutal to him, and he was screaming through the whole
Oh
thing,
yeah.
watching his hand. I was like, yeah, that's got to be painful. And then yeah, you get these werewolf movies where
Oh,
they're just
oh, and
like,
his face.
ta-da, yeah, and his
Look at
face
his
is like
face.
elongating, and it was
Pulling
just kind
out,
of
and you hear the
yeah,
cracking of the bone. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
because like when it was
and
sideways, and then it just, oh, I was like,
yeah,
oh,
it was like
God,
oh, and then when he's on all fours and his knees kind of turned around, and then his
yeah.
spine started. Oh,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and you
So what's
hear
the
it. You can
question?
hear them. So that how would you
Yeah.
score the transformation on a 1 to 10? Like
Oh,
it's
well,
not
then
a
it's
10.
yeah, yeah.
So because that's the thing. I'm like
That's a
again, but yeah, that's what I want. Like in a
and even
if I'm
the hair grew. It's like,
the hair grew.
like
Yeah, you
I don't know how
yeah.
they did
If
that.
yeah, like if I'm watching a possession film, the first thing I want is I want a good exorcism scene. That's what I want, and that's what I judge all possession movies on. Werewolf movies, it's the transformation.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Don't don't give me
Why are
some
they so?
lame
Why is
transformation
it
and
so
expect me to
easy?
like this. Yeah,
Yeah. Why is it so easy to transform in movies now? Like
yeah.
you're literally going from a
You're
human to a werewolf, and you're just. I'm
you're
like,
like
let it.
ta-da.
If you're a changeling or
Yeah,
a scroll, cool.
yeah, yeah,
But if you're not a scroll and your body is busting out, yeah, forget it. All right,
yeah.
let's move on.
I mean, shoot, even Underworld did a decent job, but
Yeah,
their transformations were really fast.
yeah, keep the plot moving. Don't have time to hurt. Oh boy,
Let me
how did I
see.
do on that one?
18, 22, 30.
Oh, this is gonna be weird.
Yep. All right. Nice.
Okay.
I want to double check my math because I did it really quick, and I was like, okay, let me make sure I got that right, and
I'm not
and
writing
I
anything
did.
down. Okay.
All right. So Dell's cutting out early. Um,
See you,
thanks,
Bill.
Dell. I hope you do catch the replay. We got three more movies to go through, and they're yeah really good movies. So definitely check us out again. But thanks a lot for joining us. All righty, let's go to
Where?
question number 3 for the hot
Oh,
seat. Are you ready?
okay.
Okay. Simple question. What's your favorite genre?
Ah, um, I think my favorite genre is science fiction. I love
Nice.
science fiction. Yep,
Yeah.
it always captures my imagination. It's the one I gravitate. Like when I saw like a trailer for Independence Day, that excited me beyond belief. You know,
That's my favorite movie of all time.
when
It's
it's like
just
coming, the greatest moment. Like this is great filmmaking. I mean, I know Roland Emmerich. He's now become the big schlocky like disaster movie guy. I don't care. Like Irwin Allen was that guy back in the '70s, and everybody went to see his movies. Um, and I've seen all of those, by the way, during my disaster movie month. I watched Earthquake, Towering Inferno, Poseidon Adventure, and they all have its charm.
oh yeah.
But when those people all stop and look up, and the thing is coming out of the cloud, and you're like, that is the biggest goddamn spaceship I've ever seen. And then
Yeah.
Oh my god! And for me, that movie lived up to its hype.
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah, love that movie.
Oh yeah. Totally. All right. Are you ready for movie number three?
I wonder if that's going to lead us into something here.
Nope. Probably not. So
Oh, certainly good segue.
I I almost should segue since sci-fi. Yeah, let's do that.
All
Sci-fi
right,
is your favorite genre. Let's segue right into it. Let's do Star Wars.
there we go. Nice. Er,
I was gonna go another way, but
it's such a nice setup. Toss the
and I
ball back.
and I
And you
tossed the well. Yeah,
almost didn't
you
take
you
it.
served it up, so I'm like, yeah, I got to spike it. So I went old school. I grabbed the DVD and
Nice. Nice.
got to get some love for that. But
That's a great box set too.
yeah. Oh man, this
What do you
this
want
was
to talk about?
who. What can we talk about? This was the first movie I remember seeing in the drive-in.
Oh yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
It was just before my seventh birthday, and went to the drive-in and watched this. And I remember going to the playground, and back then the playgrounds at the drive-in it was just all asphalt, and
Yeah.
if you fell, you were skin.
You're
You were
taking some of
hamburger
that
meat, right? You were
homemade.
taking some of the, you were leaving some of yourself behind.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember being on the swings, and I'm just swinging back and forth, and I'm watching Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
And it was the
I
coolest
haven't
thing
seen
because
it on
with
us.
the TIE fighters and everybody flying around, and I was just swinging back and forth, and they had because I was right next to the snack bar, they had the speakers going, so I could hear the movie and see the whole thing. And I was all by myself sitting on the swing set, and it was a cool experience, and one of well, like I said, one of my first memories of seeing a movie. Um,
That's awesome.
was that one. So my first two though were Jaws and The Exorcist. So to move into
Wow.
Star Wars was a great palate cleanser for me. so so
I
that but that was the third movie I remember seeing was Star Wars. So I really like that you put this in there, and I couldn't wait to score it, and
nice.
I can't wait to get your scores on it.
Yeah,
So
me too.
let's start with the cast.
All
Who do
right.
you?
Well,
I mean, this is kind of a yeah. I mean, are you not at a 10 with the cast?
I mean, I know every act. I even know, like, Anthony Daniels in the suit and Kenny Baker in the R2D2 unit, and Peter Mayhew.
Right,
So yeah, it's a 10 on the cast.
right,
You ask me one character, I'll tell you who the actor is.
exactly. And I remember, I didn't know who James Earl Jones was when I watched the movie, but I knew Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford because Peter Cushing,
Yeah.
because they were like they did so many interviews before I got to see this movie
Oh,
that I
okay.
knew all these guys because it was the biggest thing since sliced bread when this movie came out. It was
Yeah.
it, it was the greatest invention since crushed ice, and everybody was just like, "Oh my god, everybody's got to see Star Wars." So when it came to the drive-in in my little town of Chehalis, Washington, when I was living up there, I was like, "Dude, got to see this." And yeah, it was a great experience. So yeah, I kind of figured you'd be at a 10
Now,
on
is
this.
one of your questions my experience with this film? Because I'll hold my because you tell me how
Yeah,
you saw it at a drive-in.
I told
So
you, I told you about my experience. Yeah, I want to get your first experience, but we're gonna do that halfway through. So let's
okay,
get the first
all right.
five aspects. Then I'm gonna have your first experience with this, and
Oh yeah,
um,
here we go.
oh yeah, there we go. All right, so let's talk about the acting. What do you think of the acting here on a 1 to 10 based on the cast and the people that you recognize?
I mean, you see why Lucas went with these three. Like he was teaming up all these three humans. These three people,
Yeah,
finding that chemistry that would really bring this thing to life. And I think if this chemistry fails, I think the film fails.
I
You
think it
can't just have
failed.
one. Harrison Ford wasn't Harrison Ford at the time, but he certainly had the it factor. And but if he was the only one walking around the screen that you cared to look at,
Hmm.
I think it wouldn't be as rewatchable. If I also didn't love watching Carrie Fisher and like when I grew up, I wanted to be Luke Skywalker because he was kind of the young one. That was me.
Right.
I know there's a lot of my buddy though. He was always Han Solo because he's a little bit of a rebel. So I'm
One
like,
with the rebel and
yeah,
yeah,
that wasn't me though. That was too
with the
much
shirt
for me.
open. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
say I wanted to go back. Movie Hunter 2020 was talking about the TV series V. Love that scene when the huge ship comes
Oh
into the
yeah.
skyline. That was a
Oh, I can
great
talk
one.
about
The
V all night.
original, yeah, the original miniseries V.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy. I
I
loved
just got
that.
that on Blu-ray. Mhm.
And then he also says I saw this in the theaters when it was released. It was life changing.
Oh, we're
And
getting
yeah,
there.
we're this is like this was an event
This is why I
when
wanted to talk about this movie. Well, let's
yeah
keep
this
going. I'll
let's keep going. All
save my
right,
judgment.
so 1 to 10, where were you with the acting?
It's a 10 for me. Like
Nice.
I was riveted with this film. Riveted.
All right, let's go with the plot.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh
Luke
man.
Skywalker joins forces with a Jedi Knight, a cocky pilot, a Wookiee, and two droids to save the galaxy from the Empire's world-destroying battle station, while also attempting to rescue Princess Leia from the mysterious Darth Vader.
What's funny about that is it's written as though everyone knows who the hell all those characters are.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like a stupid write up.
Yeah.
However, it throws around a lot of cool sounding things.
Yeah.
Like, Princess and Battle Invader. Like, it's
And
enough. Like, if I didn't know, I'd be like, what the hell is this
I'm
thing? And no, it's
I'm
something.
like, what? I look at that going, what the heck is a Wookiee?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, if anything, I would be drawn to figure out, especially if I was looking up sci fi films and read that,
Hmm.
like, what is all this about? So, probably an 8, you
Okay.
know? I mean, you can't call it. That's the thing is because they're leaning on the things. You can't go 10 because then you're just speaking from nostalgia. I'm trying to listen
Right.
to that write up that you read and
Yeah.
grade that. So I think an 8. I think
Okay.
that's fair.
Nice. All right. So, what'd you think of the ending?
Oh, I
And
mean,
is the ending not a 10? As it can't?
I mean that ending, like, I mean, just it's the last 15 minutes. I've timed everything out of this movie.
Yeah.
15 minutes when that Death Star hits and they goes boop and it lights up on the thing. It's 15 minutes before the end of the film, and they
Hmm.
come out and then it's a great dog chase. And man, you've never seen ships like that before. And when Luke takes the shot, and he hits and it blows up, and they come back and everybody's yelling. You got the only thing they missed was putting a medal around Chewie's neck, but I'm not going to take off a point for that. A lot of people like to like people fans have made up excuses. Oh, Wookiees don't take medals; they're not into that shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh really? Is that why
Oh,
I
sure.
choose medal? If I could like piloted everything anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 10 of an ending. I mean
Yeah.
that's like a Rocky ending. It builds to absolutely where you want it to end, and
Hmm.
even with the tiny little nugget of Vader escaping, it wasn't
Yeah.
even like they forgot about it. They sort of
Hmm.
left it and they let you forget about it. You kind of forget that Vader escapes. Like when
Yeah.
I left, I wasn't thinking, oh, Vader escaped. There's going to be a sequel. It
Yeah.
just kind of left my brain that the one person that got away was Vader. It was
Yeah.
like a brilliant, tiny little moment amidst all of this adulation, revel, or excitement and explosions
Yeah.
that he gets away.
A little. Yeah.
And where did he
I
go?
I thought that was a brilliant touch. It was an amazing move, and yeah, it was the same thing where I mean when I revisited the movie
Yeah.
for the first time, and I think it was around this at this point with the remastering. Um, I I watched that and I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Vader escaped, and
Uh huh.
it didn't dawn on me.
I forget about that. Yeah.
Um, not even Empire Strikes Back came on and I was just so into it I didn't care, and I didn't even piece it that it was like, oh yeah, Vader got away, so we
Yeah.
do this all again. So yeah, it's interesting. So, and getting to that, what do you think of the story on a
Oh, the
1 to 10?
story is just it's a terrific tale. Good versus evil, boy and a girl, and well, sort of a little triangle, kind of
Hmm.
weird, like where that went. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't believe that Lucas had that all planned out. you know, sorry,
Yeah, I don't. Maybe they weren't supposed to be brother and sister right away, or
I'm thinking. I mean, because look,
I'm
Luke was
I'm hoping that
yeah,
wasn't supposed to be like that.
yeah. So the story, I mean, it's just probably the best, well crafted, and look, and that has a lot to do with Marshall Lucas, the editor. Uh, well crafted. See, good versus evil.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 10. I got to give Star Wars a 10. And we'll get into it later as you ask me more questions, I'm sure, where some of that gets taken off.
Hmm.
But it's just for the simplicity of the story. It's
Nice.
great. It's
All
great. I
right.
love it. It's
All
10.
right. So we're done with the first half.
All right.
What was your first experience watching this movie?
All right, so it's slightly older. So I was 11 when I saw this in the theater.
Okay.
But I remember we're driving around. It's so funny because I want to say my brother was driving, and he's like, "All right, what are we gonna go see, bro?" That's how my brother talks. He's like, and I swear to God, we were gonna go see Phantom of the Paradise. Right, Phantom
Okay.
of and it was sold out or something like that. So it's like, "Oh, sorry, bro," or we missed it or something. Whatever it was, that
Yeah.
movie never got seen. And we had the newspaper. Yes, back in the day, newspaper had all of our movie ads, and I just had the whole thing in my lap. And I swear to God, dude, the ad was like this big. It wasn't one of those full page. It was like really small, and it was just the logo. It said Star Wars and a couple stars in it, and maybe like Luke and Leia with that famous thing where he's got the
With the like that with
laying
her
down,
like yeah.
sexy in front of him. I think that was the little ad, the little thumbnail, if you will, to use today's
Mm-hmm.
terms. And I'm like, can we go see Star Wars? And they're like, what the hell's that? I'm like, I don't know, but it's science fiction. That's why I love science fiction, because I would want to go see anything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, all right. So we went, and I'm telling you, so we get there, no lie, there's, it's not sold out. We get good tickets. And on the way in, this is when I got my first taste of all of this sort of like cinema goodness. They had lobby cards. You know what lobby cards are, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure. And they don't do that anymore, rarely.
No.
Although now, sort of today's lobby cards are replaced with those giant standees.
Okay.
Those super gaudy standees you're going to do a selfie in front
Yeah.
of. Back
Yeah.
in our day, we had these lobby cards that would be up on the wall, and it would just sort of be like 10 to 12 images that reflected the film you're going to go see.
Yeah.
And dude, before I even went in, I was just like, what is this? Like, I just saw the stormtroopers, saw that tunnel with this, Leia shooting down. I'm like, what am I going in there for? And when I sat down and those curtains open and that big ass ship took like 10 days to go past the camera lens,
Yeah.
and the things were lit up and chasing that little ship. That's it. Like, it's like how many films, start. You talk about like these films where it's a slow burn and you got to get to that point where I'm going to give up on this movie.
Yeah.
There was no giving up on Star Wars when we saw it back in our day. Like that moment cemented you in that seat.
Yeah.
And I was just like little Huck. I was just, huge. And then Vader comes in, like, who the hell's this guy? Like, and you could tell right away, big, black helmet. It's like that's the bad guy. Like you just
Yeah.
knew it. And thank God they replaced, did James Earl Jones's voice, and it was just so, like he kept, like when you listen to it now, it's a little like over the top. I think he nails it in Empire. That's really where his voice is the calmest, the coolest, the most treacherous.
The most diabolic is where that's yeah.
Like in Empire when he goes, apology accepted,
Yeah.
Captain. Like as calm as can be, as like it drops to his knees and dies.
Yeah.
Like that's where that was headed.
Yeah.
But this particular showing, halfway 1 hour in, it stops and goes to intermission. Back when intermission was a thing, and the curtain starts closing. I'm like, no,
No, I want to stay.
it's like yeah, 15 minutes. I'm like, I got out. I hauled ass, went to the theater, probably got the
Yeah, that was so they could change cans and go to the next reel
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So and I think I got some more Coke, and I came back. I planted my ass, and then when that curtain opened back up, I was right there. I'm like, and I mean that's I don't know that's the memory I have of this film that transformed me into this movie lover that I am. It made me want to make movies. It made me want to come out to California and pursue it, or work in the industry, or something like that. Everything about the magic of that film is what drew me out here.
Hmm.
So good. So
Awesome.
good. Couldn't wait to see it again. And then I got
Yeah.
home and couldn't stop telling my mom all about it. I'm like, and there's this Wookiee, and there's Darth Vader, and there's these robots. She's like, okay, I know what I'm getting
Okay.
for his birthday.
Yeah. I know where we're going next. Um, but oh man, and I couldn't believe, and you don't get that nowadays, but how long that movie stayed in the theater.
Oh yeah, yeah, long time,
And long
like
time.
like a year.
Yeah, I'd have to say almost two, because where I was
Wow.
like, I could go back and see that I was, it didn't
Oh yeah.
matter. Between the drive-in and the theater, I was able to see all these stuff. I was able to see that like 6 or 7 times. Jerry joined us. Jerry,
What's
what's
going on,
up,
Jerry?
brother?
Hey, dude.
Um, but yeah, so for the genre, sci-fi, duh.
Yeah.
Um, and then for the type of movie, I have it as a space movie.
Okay.
So we're going to have a couple of aspects for it being in space and different planets and things like that.
Okay.
Um, so the first thing for a sci-fi movie is it's got to have good special effects.
Hmm.
So what did you think of the special effects here on a scale of 1 to 10?
Now,
And we're talking for the time, not
okay, and the
we don't have
originals,
to.
not the
Yeah,
redo.
not the
Not
redo, the original
yeah.
for
Uh,
for for 77 when it came out.
I mean, there was nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's no like you look at all of those space films from the 70s,
Hmm.
if you can even think of any. And look, don't get me started. Everybody knows my tirade on 2001. It's pretty, but it's a bit of a snore fest.
Yeah.
And this one, you know, Lucas never lingers on an effect. No matter how good it looks or how long it took to make it, if he only
Hmm.
wants to show that shot for 2 or 3 seconds, that's all you're going to see.
Hmm.
Whatever time it took to put that 3 seconds up, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything that pulled me out of that film. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if we're just going on special effects, right? So I won't get into makeup and things like that.
Yeah.
But going just on special effects, I mean, it's a 10. It
Yeah.
To me, I mean, it set the and I didn't do this on purpose. It's so weird you pull this out. I didn't do this to say these are setting standards, but everything, so many things, owes itself to Star Wars and the creation of ILM and the artists that started here. And some of them came from 2001, stuff like that. But this is the thing that put that kind of filmmaking on the map. So much so that everyone was trying to make their own Star Wars. No one was
Exactly.
ever trying to make their own 2001, but
No.
everyone is still trying to make their own Star Wars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Movie
yeah.
Hunter says the literal depth of the star field was amazing.
Yeah, dude.
Groundbreaking.
Right?
And we're going to get into that when we talk about the actual space type. We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Um,
Curious where this is going.
um, so the second part, the second aspect of sci-fi film is pacing. And again, this is a 70s movie, so the pacing for it was back then.
Yeah.
What did you think of that on a 1 to 10?
Here's I'm going to give you like kind of a two-sided thing here. It's
Yeah.
funny because I showed this, every dad wants to show his daughter or his kids, right? Star Wars. And dude, we got an hour in, and this is right up to when Obi-Wan is standing on the ledge and they're looking down at Mos Eisley, and it's
Mhm.
Mos Eisley. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Gets up, leaves the room, done. I'm like, where are you going? Bathroom. Cool, I'll wait. And then she leaves the bathroom, never comes out. I'm like, are you coming back? She's like, no, I'm bored. I'm like, you're bored? So it's interesting to put that in perspective because I see why, especially kids today, that getting up to that point, you're bored. It's like
Yeah.
it's not, but that's because they've seen it all. They've been there, they've done that. It's on their phones, all that. But we had never seen that.
Yeah.
So it's if I have to put myself in the seat, then I mean I guess I mean it's a I don't want to give everything a 10, but I would say it's a good 8
Okay.
from how I see the film. If I remove myself from the nostalgia, it's probably not that good. It's probably more like a 6.
Yep.
But I don't. It's hard for me to see the pace as that
Yeah.
because I don't see the pace as that, even though
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
So
And it is.
for nerd. What
Um,
did I say? What did I say? An 8.
yeah. You said an 8
Um,
originally.
I'll stay with that because that
Okay.
then I didn't feel it was. I felt it was flying by. So
Yeah. Yeah. So Pop Culture 33, Evan joined us. Thanks for joining us, Evan. And everybody's saying hi.
good.
So the
Talking
third
about movies.
aspect of the sci-fi genre that I'm looking for is technology. What did
Okay.
you think of the technology here?
Well, I
And
mean, the
and again
technology,
for the period. So not looking at everything and saying how modern does it look or how futuristic does it look,
right,
but
right,
how did the technology
in the film
in that film,
service itself.
for what it is, like the hyperdrives and the things like that, the stuff that they used that was supposedly futuristic. How did they portray that, and what would you give that on 1 to 10?
Well, what I loved about how they portrayed that and everything in the film is it was lived in. So even the hyperdrive, he has to bang on the thing to
Well,
woo and
especially
get
with the Millennium Falcon, because it's like,
yeah, that
oh,
poor hunk of junk.
that
It's
poor
like,
girl, she was just like,
and I don't know if you know this, but in The Empire Strikes Back, when he bangs it to light it back up when it goes up, notice that that spot has a worn spot on it.
yeah,
Like he has hit
he's
that
done that
spot
for a
a
while. Yeah,
1,000 times. And I
yeah,
thought that is the type of eye for detail that I love. Is just
hmm
like you don't have to wear that spot down. But by wearing that spot down, it tells you a lot about Han, tells you a lot about the ship. Um,
hmm
and then I mean, a lightsaber. Like, what the hell is that? I mean, there's your
right.
technology. I mean, the fact that he created something that is absolutely impossible to have,
hmm
and you buy it, like watching those sabers clash, you're just like in awe.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the um, tractor beam that Obi-Wan is on, and he's going
hmm
boo, and he turns it off, and just you look at, I mean, everything about it looked. And I loved, even the readouts and the buttons and the jelly buttons, and it's sort of like when you look at the old Star Trek from the '60s.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at it now, I still look at that '60s as like that is a beautifully laid out design. That
Yeah.
yes, it's got the big jelly buttons, but we didn't have all this stuff we can do now.
Right.
So it looks believable. So I mean, for Star Wars, I mean that's its whole that's its mark in cinema, right? That's its thing that it says we're going to change the game, and if you believe it, then you're all in. So I don't know. I have to go. I mean, like just I have to go 10. I'd go 9, maybe even 8 if it was just a bunch of ships flying around. But when you
hmm
bring in something like a lightsaber that every freaking kid and adult on the planet wants to own,
hmm
that's when you take it to another level. And that's the if you're looking at technology, that's he invented something that
Yep.
everyone wants. That's a 10.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I agree with that. Movie Hunter
Yeah,
2020 lightsabers
you
rule. I
don't
own 8 of them.
I have
Yep.
one, but
I am a. I don't have any, to be honest, but I have always wanted to do the Jedi training thing
yeah.
they have. I've always wanted to go through that. Um.
Yeah, if you go to
So yeah.
Disney, you used to be able to make your own. I think they had to
Yeah.
stop that COVID. Boo COVID.
Yeah. Boo. Okay. So now
All
we're
right.
talking about the space. So the first thing is the actual spacefaring scenes, the different planets, things like that. How do you think they portrayed all that? We could even talk about alien races and stuff, and the makeup that they did for those. But this is like the whole thing that they did about being in space and traveling planets, and the hyperdrive and doing all that
Yeah.
stuff. How did you think they did all that, and how the whole space scene looked, when they're fighting out in space and things like that? It's kind of a
Yeah.
broad scope, but just kind of
Yeah.
put all that encompass in one thing. And how did that make you feel on a 1 to 10 scale?
I mean, watching those space battles, like just okay, say when the four TIE fighters, attack the Millennium Falcon and they're in those, gunnery pits.
hmm
And I mean that was exciting. And then they would cut back inside and you got, the humor in there, like, I got one. Don't get cocky, kid. Like, see,
Yeah,
that's
they're all in
that's
the
it.
little cockpits, and you see the little helmets going off and things like that. So yeah,
Hey,
there's
yeah.
the picture I
Yeah.
wanted to put in there of that, with all the X-wing fighters and stuff flying through. Um, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and the fact that you have hyperdrive allows you to. That's what brings you from planet to planet. You get from a desert planet to, the moon, to the space station. I mean, like, and just like so when they're in the cockpit, how about that? So that
hmm
it makes you feel like you're in it because Lucas puts you in the cockpit with them, looking
hmm
out the cockpit, so you see what they see.
hmm
And when things are the space station's getting closer or the TIE fighters are getting closer, I mean, I just thought it was like a brilliant.
Really, really well done.
and literally sitting next to him is Chewbacca, a Wookiee,
Hmm.
completely believable that he could fly the ship. There wasn't anything like Mayhew was just acting like, oh, I've been in this seat 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't look like a dog sitting up there with his nose out the window,
Yeah. It's not
like
Spaceballs.
like Han could get up and yeah, right, Bart.
Yeah.
Han could get up and leave this thing to this big hairy dog, and he'll fly the shit out of this thing.
Yeah.
So, um, how do you not give it a 10? Like I want to say 8 because I don't know, I give too many 10s, but I mean it was a 10. Like going from planet to planet and the ability to do it with the way they did it and the aliens. Look, and the bar scene is absolutely one of my favorite scenes. You're talking about aliens. So
Yeah.
you get to this bar for this one scene, and there's your addition to John Williams music when you've got that cantina band playing.
Hmm.
Uh, it gives it a whole different feel and sound than the rest of the film, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so good at setting a tone in that bar.
Yeah.
So
It's really like a palate cleanser for the film. So you're like,
yeah,
there's so much of this going on, and then you go into this bar, and it's like it's just this concentrated, just this whole bunch of crap going on at the same time.
yeah,
All
it calms you
I
down.
swear
It's like
I probably watched it like 10 or 15 times, and I was just like seeing something different, a different type of alien or a different gesture or something in the background that you didn't see before. It was really neat. So
I mean,
yeah,
I
I
love
was
it
like,
so much that I love the original aliens. Like, Lucas, he had to put in that Rastafarian looking lizard and something else. I miss the werewolf mask with the red eyes. When he's
mm-hmm,
just sitting there, like that's the one he removed that one
yeah,
because he just felt it looked like a guy sitting there in a mask. But
yeah,
I freaking love the werewolf with red eyes.
no,
No, that's yeah. So
totally. Okay, so the last thing for the space type is I look for a level of intensity, much like a thriller.
uh,
I look for a little bit of tension. And so, how would you rate the intensity of the movie on a 1 to 10?
the intensity.
Yeah,
Um,
like suspense, like
I mean,
any part where you're white knuckling it, like when they're, and again I shook my camera, damn it,
yeah.
but we know like when Luke's getting there to drop the missiles into the little 2 meter hole,
Well,
and did you feel any intensity in the movie?
I would say probably like an 8 because
Okay.
I feel like the film has such a nice even keel to it that when those every time those moments come, they deliver. So I don't know if I would ramp it up to a white knuckle like the ending of American Werewolf where he's running and he's biting heads off and like and then
Bursts out of the theater and it's all rah, and you're just like, yeah, that was crazy.
or
Yeah,
even Rocky when it's like he's hitting douche
that
douche
that
bell
final
rings
thing, and
and you're like
they're like
and you're
both
like
falling down, and you're like, ah,
oh, and like he's
uh,
getting up. I was like, did he win? It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
Or even
so
the end of Karate Kid where they're doing the thing and the music's going, and
yeah.
yeah, like that. All right, that was good. All right, we got two more.
Is it? I'm curious how that one scored. I feel like it's probably really high.
That was pretty good score. I will admit. So, Pop Culture Today said you can still make your own lightsaber. My son did it in
Oh,
February,
good. Oh, they
so
brought it back. Good because
that's
I know they
awesome.
took it away temporarily.
Um, so Movie Hunter says my favorite is I'm going to say Darth Maul, not Darth Maul. My
Okay.
favorite is the Darth Maul one, the double saber. Um, yeah,
You
and then
know,
he corrected Darth Maul.
yeah.
Darn auto spell check, right?
I'll even say, movie hunter. Hang on, talking too much. Excuse me. That is still hands down my favorite lightsaber fight in all the Star Wars films. Is when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul are fighting,
Hmm.
and then he takes out Qui-Gon, and then it's just you've pissed off Obi-Wan, and then it's like
And then it's
adrenaline.
on.
And
Yeah.
when they start going, I would replay that moment when the and it opens and he turns it on, he flips it around like a badass, and
Yeah.
he just hits him with the first swing, I would just replay that over and over because it's like dun, 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 and that Duel of Fates is playing, and he cuts that thing in half, and now Maul's got two. I'm like, God, dog, man,
Yeah.
ah, that is just like still, I think hard to beat that scene.
Yeah.
They try. Like I feel like the one in Revenge of the Sith, it's so long that I feel it just loses its beauty. Like I started to get bored. It's like, oh God, you've been fighting this lightsaber for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that Maul fight is just the right amount.
Yeah. Evan says, I love the purple one just because of the story that
Yeah,
Jackson would only do the movie if he had a purple lightsaber.
that's right. Luke is like,
Um,
oh yeah,
okay, whatever.
Sam
No,
Jackson.
I gotta say, I've always been partial to General Grievous
Oh, with
and
the
the
force.
four
That is
lightsaber.
awesome. That is
That's
awesome.
pretty awesome. That was kind of my favorite. But I did love the Darth Maul. Ray Park did an amazing job
Hmm.
as Darth Maul, and uh, I'd really like to. You got just a tickle of that in Rogue One. You got just a tickle, or in
Yeah.
Solo. You get a little tickle in Solo. You get a little tickle of Darth Maul in Solo, and I was like, oh man, I want to see some more Darth Maul. That'd been great. Um, all right, we got two more. We got two more questions.
All right.
So let's go with question number 4. This one's going to be an interesting one because I know you mentioned it. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of
Oh
actors and
no.
actresses? So this is alive or dead. If
Okay.
your 4 top actors and actresses, um, no particular order. Like if you see a movie with that person in it, you will get that movie or you'll watch that movie. No
Right.
question.
See, I feel like I have a like a two-sided Mount Rushmore. Like we've
Like you have
carved the
this coin of just like
yeah, like you carve the middle on this side. Well, because you got if you just see one side, you take and you leave. But if it's on the other side, you stick around longer. You hit the gift
yeah,
shop.
you hit the gift shop,
You
you
buy
take the
two of
helicopter tour and you go all the
right,
way
the
around.
helicopter tour.
There you
Fly
go.
across space. So, all right, so it's funny because like part of you wants to just do the big old meathead thing and go like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, but no, I didn't do that. I'm just gonna speaking of science fiction and all that. Harrison Ford has to be on there for me because growing up, I mean, I would see anything with Harrison Ford, and I'm telling you, not just from Star Wars, but when he did Raiders after that, I'm telling you, Raiders had the same magic for me as Star Wars, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I love that movie. Um, so and then I would watch Mosquito Coast and Witness and like that. So those two made me a fan of his, and then his performances made me a fan of the rest.
Right.
So I put Ford on there, and then my newest one I think has to be Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
When I watch Leo in things like with uh, Quentin Tarantino, whether it's films from that, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the scenes he has, especially with that little girl, if you remember the one with the girl, and he's acting his ass off, and the camera's going around, and it comes to his face, and he blows the line. He's like, "Damn it, start over!" And the camera, without ever cutting, winds back to one,
Mm-hmm.
begins again, like you know what I mean. It's all still in one take, and then when he's done and he's there, that little girl comes up to him. And she goes, "That's the best acting I've ever seen." And it does two things to me. It breaks my heart for Leo,
Mm-hmm.
but it also shows you how good he is because you also believe that it's like kind of a little girl telling Leo maybe if he's getting too old and he's losing it that you still have it.
Yeah.
And so moments like that and everything he does with Scorsese. So I think I got to pop Leo on there.
Okay.
Uh, and then just for sheer blockbuster entertainment, two of my all-time faves is Jackie Chan and Tom Cruise. Jackie Chan sets the he just sets the bar for anything, everything. We're setting bars tonight. Jackie Chan says, "You want to choreograph a fight? Then show the damn fight.
Yeah.
Don't cut in the middle of a punch. Don't cut in the middle of a kick. If you
Yeah.
do that, then you've wasted the talent of the stuntman who bothered to spend hours and days and weeks on a stunt to show you something cool, and you ruin it by
Yeah.
cutting it." Jackie says, "Set the camera down, roll it, don't move it.
Yeah.
You know, until I tell you to move it." And
Until I
it's
tell you to move it.
there's a reason.
Yeah.
So Jackie Chan's got to go up there, and then freaking
Yeah.
Tom.
And
Like,
then friggin' Tom frickin' Cruise. You got to
Tom
be, yeah,
Cruise. Other people might put Tom Hanks. I'm just gonna put Tom Cruise.
yeah.
'Cause-
Tom Hanks is on mine for
Great.
sure.
Oh yeah, sweet.
So yeah, Tom Hanks is on mine. Denzel Washington would be my number two, and then I got a couple of oddballs. Well, I don't think one is. Kate Blanchett is
Nice.
one. I absolutely love her, everything she does. And then my last one is Stanley Tucci. I love
Ah,
Stanley Tucci. I
nice.
can't I can't get enough of that dude. Doesn't matter what movie he's in. I've got a movie where he is an intelligent zombie, and I love that movie.
That's hilarious.
So it yeah, Stanley Tucci is
See,
like my
see,
number
I would
four.
love like if I had like an oddball one, it would have like Tim Curry and Kurt Russell and
Yeah,
Bruce Campbell. You know those characters on there.
yeah,
So
yeah. The other thing was somebody caught me when they were doing like Alive or Dead, and somebody said Robin Williams, and I was like, Robin Williams would definitely be if I was gonna be like, yeah, I might pull one of those guys off and replace him with Robin Williams. If I
yeah,
was going to
Robin's
do Robin, just a classic dude, and I miss him. He's one of the actors that passed away that I really miss.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I missed him too because when he won the Oscar for Good Will Hunting,
yeah,
like because when I came out, I also came out to do comedy. I even went to the comedy store and I did stuff at the comedy store and all that, all because I was inspired by guys like George Carlin, Robin Williams. And to me, what I always hate about the Oscars is they only think you can win an Oscar because you can be dramatic. If you can act and cry, you get the award. But it's so much harder to do comedy. So when a comedian finally he had to do a drama to win it, that's fine.
mm,
But a guy who's known for comedy showed that he's got more skills than most dramatic actors who tend to not do comedy so well. Won, and when he won, I felt there was all this validation for comedians everywhere that they are more talented than the Academy Awards recognizes. So yeah,
right,
I'm
right,
with you there.
good. So Pop Culture 33 said Christian Bale, Natalie Portman, Brad Pitt, and Tom Hanks, and of course Denzel. So his Mount Rushmore has five.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
but I think Natalie Portman's a great choice. Movie Hunter 2020 said, I love everything Tom Cruise is in. Well,
Well,
Mummy, not so much.
uh,
And then Pop Culture 33 said he enjoyed The Mummy. And Movie Hunter said, I wanted more, just can't put my finger on what. Um, I wanted less Russell Crowe in The Mummy. I think that would have been my
yeah,
choice, but I did like him as the whole Dr. Jekyll thing, but I really think they could have done that better. I know they were trying to do like a monster version of the
yeah,
Avengers. They were going to do like a bunch of solos and then come together with a big old thing. And I just think that they picked the wrong movie to start with. but I enjoyed it and I love Sophia Boutella as the female mummy. I love her. She's amazing, and I would watch
but
her not for her acting ability, but she's just a great action star. I think she could do a one
yeah.
woman army movie. I'd be looking forward to that.
I did pick it up at the swap meet this weekend, so I'm gonna check it out. So the flip side of my Mount Rushmore, and you heard a couple here. One is yours, Kate Blanchett. I agree. I also want Jennifer Connelly, Natalie Portman, and Sandra Bullock.
Okay, so you
That
did
would be
like an all male and an all female
female. It's a two
Mount Rushmore.
sided Mount
Just
Rushmore.
two
You got to
sides.
drag
Yeah,
to
did
see
a
it.
yin and yang Mount
Or
Rushmore.
it's in a V like this. So you see the guys over here.
So you
Then
see they're facing each other, and
well, like a face off. Yeah.
yeah, it's a face off. There you go. It's Battle of the
Nice.
Sexes. My money's on the women. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah. It's like Battle of the
Um, you give me Sandy B all day long. She can. Um, but Sandra Bullock is the only person to actually win an Oscar and a Razzie in the same year. So
I know that's
I'm
hilarious.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
See that girl's range.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, she's all over the prism. All right. So we've got two more movies left. Let's kick into number four.
Oh boy.
Fourth movie is Superman.
Oh, going there next, huh?
Yep. So here we
Oh,
go. Good old Chris Reeve, may he rest.
mm,
Um,
look at this beautiful cover, man.
and again,
God,
again, I went old school because I had the box set of
yeah, I got
the
that one back
original
there.
four.
I just
So
love
yeah,
that.
I went old school with that. But yeah, I got dig the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. There's nothing compares to those. Again, This is another where superhero movies or comic book movies.
Look,
I definitely look to
this is
these
how
to
much I
compare.
love Chris Reeve. It's on my iPad as the locked screen.
Oh, see, there you
There's
go.
that'll tell you something right there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Evan. My Mount Rushmore had
Smaller
smaller heads,
heads.
so I get more.
Oh, if we're going on that, let's hold on. Hey, I'll go back to
Oh,
my
in
list.
that case, if we're gonna do small heads,
I want
and then
all of that.
here
All
comes
that back.
Ken, mid-level media himself, and
Ken.
um, for those of you that ask who is Ken, I don't know. Um,
Yeah, I got notes on that on my
that was
morning
all
show.
over the place on your morning mug. It
That
was
guy's like,
like everybody was
Ken.
like,
I'm like,
"Who's
all right, let me
Ken?"
tell you about Ken.
Let me tell you about Ken.
Ken let me sweat it out a little bit before he went. The guy
Wait,
knows
wait,
who I am.
that's planned. He does that all the time.
Miller.
Yeah, that's so funny. Um,
So let's
all
get
right, so let's
Superman.
jump into Superman. Um, up and away. Superman. Let's talk about the cast.
Oh my God.
So
I mean, look,
who do you
like,
recognize out of the cast?
like,
Are you
like
one of
every.
those where you know?
I mean, this is one of those films. Like, I just knew. Look, like even at the time, I knew Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando,
Hmm.
just because of like their, like because I love watching things on TV. Like I saw Bonnie and Clyde. That's when I first met or got to know who Gene Hackman was because he's
Hmm.
guest star in that, and then the Poseidon Adventure would come on every holiday, and he's amazing in that. That's still when I did my disaster week. That ended up being my favorite disaster film. I just
I
love
gotta
it.
say, Ernest Borgnine, he kills it in that.
Yeah,
God, love
so
that movie.
good.
Yeah.
Um, and then Chris,
I'd have to
Argo.
say it'd be Towering Inferno if we're gonna jump back for the disaster. I'd go Towering Inferno because
Well,
I remember first watching that on TV and I was just riveted.
oh yeah,
Uh,
I'd never seen it until that month. Like I bought all those '70s things, and said
oh
I'm gonna lean into those. So if I run out of time, I've already seen like Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day. So if I don't get to see those, I'm okay. I want to see those things. I even put in Roller Coaster, dude, as one of the '70 things, and that was at the bottom. That's a one and
yeah,
done.
yeah,
But because there was like only two roller coaster things that happened in the
yeah,
whole movie, I'm like
yeah.
kind of a letdown. But
What
anyway,
kind of disaster is that? It was a
yeah,
disaster watching that movie.
right. But I mean, I don't know. Because if you have to pick five actors and you know their names, you know their faces, so it's easy
Yeah,
for me to do Superman. So that's a 10.
yeah. So I was gonna say yeah because I was at a 10 for this one with Chris Reeve and Margot Kidder and Gene Hackman and I was
Yeah,
like and Terrence Stamp as Zod and I was like, dude, I know all these dudes.
yeah.
So what do you think of the acting
Oh
on a
my
one to
God,
ten?
here's the thing. So it can be a little campy by some of the actors,
Yeah.
because of like I would say uh, Perry White, when he's all like, Clark, it's like he's it's almost like he's in a slightly different movie
Yeah.
than the other actors. But I mean, you cannot deny, like Chris Reeve should have gotten an Oscar nomination for portraying two distinct characters in that
Mhm.
one moment when he's like Lois, and he's in her apartment, and she's going to get dressed and get ready to go out with him, and he's all hunched over his Clark, and then he takes his glasses off and he stands up and his chest comes out. I swear he grows like 2 to 3 more inches, and he's standing like Superman in his voice. I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, that guy is so, verisimilitude. That's the word that Richard Donner used for this, which is believability. And
Mhm.
if you don't believe Chris can fly, this
Mhm.
movie flops. So I hinge. I put a 10 on Chris, but I put a 9 on everything else because I think sometimes some of the other actors are a little bit in a different movie
Yeah.
with where they're at. But I think that's just because they think they're in a Superman movie.
Yeah.
Where on the other hand, I think Hackman is also slightly over the top, but absolutely believably so. Like like it
He's
fits that character to be that slightly over the top. But then Ned Beatty with his
yeah.
oh gosh, with his Otisberg,
Yeah.
he's in another movie.
Yeah. No, no, I totally agree with that. Okay, so as a total, you're going to give it a 9.
You know what? Let's give it an 8. I think it's an
Okay.
8.
All
I
right.
think it's when you got like Perry White and Otis in there. Yeah,
Yeah. Because I mean, yeah. Because you're Christopher
but
Reeve,
Chris is a 10.
10.
Chris is a
Margot
10.
Kidder was right
10.
there. Like
Yep.
that. But yeah. Yeah. The kid who played Jimmy, he was a little over top for me.
Yeah.
Ned Beatty was a little over top. Like you said, Gene Hackman's supposed to be the mega maniacal, the villain, right? So he's
Yeah.
supposed to be over the top. Um. So
But
yeah,
he also
I
knows when to
enjoyed that.
take it down.
Yeah.
Like he takes it down. Like yeah. Like where all the other ones don't really have the levels that
Yeah.
Hackman does. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because
yeah.
yeah, Ned Beatty's like on 10 the whole time. It was
But in a
oh
different way.
and you're like, okay, I'm a little done with that. But
And
yeah, so
Brando is even really good. He was
yeah,
great.
Brando was good in that.
He was very well centered.
Um, yeah, I liked him composed as Jor-El. All right, so let's go to the plot.
Oh boy.
Let's see what IMDb's got. Oh, you're gonna love this.
What you got?
An alien orphan is sent from his dying planet on Earth, where he grows up to become his adoptive home's first and greatest superhero.
They don't even mention
There's
Superman in this thing. Like,
nothing. Yep.
first of all, if you mention Superman, it's a 10 because I will watch that.
Right,
Uh,
but they don't.
they
Not
don't,
not in this.
but they do mention superhero or
They do
see
mention
that's it. I
they do
mean,
mention superhero, but it's like an alien. I saw alien orphan, and I just started laughing.
yeah, it's awful. That's an awful description.
It's so bad.
Well, like it's Superman is so iconic. You can literally tell the story in the description.
Yeah,
An orphan from the planet Krypton. Like you can
yeah.
say, like if you're gonna like when you read the Star Wars one, and you were saying Wookiees and Vader,
Wookiees
you were
and
saying all the things that are in the movie.
yeah,
Fascinating sounding. So you were
Jedi
thinking,
Knight, blah blah blah, all this kind of yeah. I was like in, but yeah, and then you get this thing. Like I said, it's really like Russian roulette
like what?
with IMDb to whether you're gonna get a decent plot or not.
God. I mean, what is that? I
So
mean,
yeah, put a number on that.
aside from the fact that eventually I would probably know that it's Superman because of where it was going,
Hmm.
the write up is terrible. What is it? That's at least a 6 or 7. Not sure where I want to put it though.
Let's
Uh,
put it at 7.
all right, 7, yeah, because it still says superhero, and eventually I would watch it because I know what they're trying to say.
I was like, oh, superhero movie, I'm in. I'd be like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
watch it because yeah, like a good example of that is Brightburn,
yeah.
to where it's like
Read that one.
I. I liked that movie, and that was like, what if Superman were a sociopath when he when he
Yeah.
can't,
Although now you just got to watch The Boys, and you get a really good idea of what
get a really good. Oh yeah, The Boys is.
Homelander.
I love
Homelander.
that series.
Oh, it's
That's
great.
crazy. I'm enjoying it.
Homelander, Superman without a conscience,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
it's
so let's talk about the ending of
okay.
Superman.
Okay.
What did you think about that? Closure? Did you get what you wanted out of it?
Yeah. Let me tell you. So
What
this is a
the?
Superman movie,
Yeah.
and he's spinning around the planet, and he's going backwards. I mean, like certainly the young me didn't try to do the science on that. Like, oh, the
Mhm.
oceans are going to turn back. It's going to flood the planet. And all that.
Mhm.
Whatever. Um, it was huge. That ending was like he was saving the kids on the bus. When he flew into the core after the bomb hit and he's lifting that up and you see all the magma and the way he is lit. Oh
Mhm.
my God. I'm telling you, that shot of Chris Reeve picking that thing up, there isn't one better shot in that movie that makes me think, holy shit, I am looking at Superman.
Yeah.
I am looking at Superman. That shot
Yeah.
is like he's lifting the Earth's crust, just
Yeah.
and then he saves Lois, he saves everybody as he gets water to the town. I mean, like, yeah, to me that's a 10 of an ending. That's it. Uh, I'm not going to get into the science of it, because to me, like, time travel today gets very overused. So, like,
And convoluted. They try to make it so
yeah,
complicated.
like I'd have an issue trying to give Endgame a 10 except the fact that it didn't quite end with the time travel. It ended with that great battle. So,
Yeah.
that can give it a 10. But the
Right.
use of time travel, I'm just so sick of like, hey, let's go fix it with time travel. I'm like, how about you don't fix it with time travel? You figure out a better way to write your story. Because
Yeah.
time travel is just a crutch. Because you can use it, yeah, you can go fix it. So
Yeah.
anyway, there's no time
I
travel. It's
get.
just Superman spinning the Earth
Yeah.
around. That's a 10.
So, yeah, it was just spinning the earth around enough to where he could save Lois. That's all. He
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
trying to. Yeah.
Change time.
He wasn't trying to like alter the whole timeline,
Right.
pull a Star Trek.
Yeah,
He wasn't trying to
yeah.
do
Just
that.
rolled it back 5 minutes.
Just roll back a few minutes so that I can get to there and
And
save her
this,
before she falls into the yeah.
oh,
Um,
dude, and that scene, and that scene where he loses her, and
yeah.
he takes off
And he
flying,
just boom, yeah.
and he
Yeah.
screams. That scream from Chris into the
Yeah.
camera,
Yeah.
like again, that whoa, Superman
You
losing his
felt
cool.
that. Yeah.
God,
You,
yeah.
that's the one where you felt that. You were like, "Oh man."
See
Talk
that's a
about
moment from any other actor as Superman. I haven't felt anything to that equals that moment.
yeah. No, I agree with that.
There we go.
Okay. So story.
Story.
So,
All right.
yeah, what'd you think of the story? How did it play out? Were there any
Story
holes in the
is
story?
story's good. I would say probably more of a, I guess like an 8 on the story
Okay.
because I feel like now this is one, unlike Star Wars, that I think is a little, you feel the pace at times, especially when they're in Smallville. It's a little slow there. Because I mean, inevitably, you want to get to Superman. You want to see Chris as Superman, and
Yeah.
you don't realize it, but it is 1 hour into this film before he turns into Superman.
Yeah.
Because you've got that whole opening with Krypton, then you've got Smallville, then he becomes Superman.
Right.
So really, the second half of the film is a Superman film. But
Yeah.
oh my God, that scene when that Jor-El skull cap, that face comes out and reveals the fortress, and there's Chris standing on the ice, and he just
Hmm.
takes off and he flies right by the camera and he
Yeah.
banks his body. Oh my God, I cannot tell you the euphoria I felt when I saw this actor bring that character to life in that one moment.
Nice.
But because of all those little ebbs and flows, I guess an 8.
Okay.
Because it's
That's
still
not
like
bad.
when you get to that second part, because you still got to tell the backstory. This is like the first one. I'm done with that though. By the way, if there's any more Superman movies, enough of the backstory. We know Batman, we know Superman, we know their origins. Don't ever tell that story again. Like we
Yeah.
know Krypton so well, everybody does.
Yeah.
But this was one of the first ones, and it also sort of set the standard that so many Superman things wanted to mimic that ice stuff. They did it in Superboy in the TV show. They did it in Smallville. They did it in Lois and Clark. Like that whole thing
Hmm.
was in Brandon Routh's movie. So that set a standard until Zack Snyder took over.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Anyway,
Well, that's good.
I,
Do
I
you
digress.
do you remember your first experience watching this movie?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just like Star Wars and Raiders for me.
Yeah.
When I was in there, and then that scene I described to you when he banks, like that was it. From that moment on, like because little me was like getting a little shifty in his seat, like where's let's go, let's go. But
Hmm.
once Chris showed up, like and he's so good as Clark as well. Like I wasn't even bored when he was Clark Kent. Like he was so
Hmm.
good as Clark. Well,
Yeah.
like when
I
Perry White goes, "What's his favorite bowl team, Kent?" And literally, like Chris starts to answer the question. He goes,
yeah.
and then the camera pans away from Chris. I think that is one of the
Yeah.
most brilliant moments of him sort of slipping there, like because
He
he
was
has
going to answer the question.
to say,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's the," you know,
Yeah. Oops.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, this was a theater watch for me. 1978. So yeah, and it
78.
was one of those summer blockbusters. So I was 8 years
Oh
old when I first watched this, and yeah, I remember just like after that, it wasn't a day that went by that I didn't tie a towel around my neck and
yeah.
think it was cape and fly
Yeah.
around fly around the house or fly around the yard. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those. Yeah, it's one of those iconic movies. Like I said, just about everything that you put out, I was like, dude, these are iconic movies.
We're doing. How
Okay,
about the opening? How about when it opens with the comic book and the kids reading the comic, and
yeah,
then it just dissolves into those credits, like probably the at the time and probably still the most expensive credit sequence ever put in the front of a film.
Hmm.
with the everything coming at you. I'm like, oh my, like
Yeah.
how's in heaven with the credits, and then John Williams score with that. It's like
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh no,
wow,
yeah. John Williams score is amazing in that. Um,
I'm sure you're getting to that.
yeah. Oh well, I consider it, part of the whole really, but it's the genre is fantasy and the type of movie is comic book movie.
Okay.
So the three aspects that I'm looking for in the fantasy movies are imagination, pace, and special effects because
Mhm.
you got to make them look like a superhero. You can't
Yeah.
give me you can't give me Thing in like this weird bodysuit, and I'm not going to go for that.
Yeah.
Um, and then for the comic book movie, I like its basis in the comic book. How comic book like did it feel, and there's a couple of different things that I go with that. Sometimes I go with humor. So if there's a like more of a Marvel movies nowadays, you look
Yeah.
for the humor, and then with the Zack Snyder verse stuff and even the Nolan verse Batman's, you look more of how dark the movie is.
Yeah. True.
And so I don't look so much for the humor when I'm watching Dark Knight, but it's
No.
but I look toward the how dark was the movie, and not just in darkness, but
Yeah. Yeah. Tone.
like dark, like just the soul of the whole thing. How
Yeah.
dark
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it?
Mhm.
So we're gonna go humor with this because I think there's some really good humor
Oh, it's
in the
fantastic.
Superman movies. I really liked how they did this, and not just because Richard Pryor comes in later on one of the other
That's
movies.
almost where the humor got wrong.
Yeah, it's almost where it turns sour. It's like, why is Richard Pryor? It did not.
Hot.
Brewster's Millions did not belong in the Superman movies, but
No. No.
it is funny. Okay, so let's start with the imagination
Okay.
of the film. So, and this is not only God, and I'm going to put this in two levels here because
All right.
the imagination put forth in the movie, not only that, but the imagination that you felt,
Yeah.
or where that took your imagination when you watched
Mhm.
it. What would you give that on a 1 to 10?
Okay. I like how you're dialing these in because it was you were listing out a lot of things.
Yeah.
So for me, the imagination on this uh, is this is a 10 for me
Okay.
because you when you start with Krypton, that's its own that creation, like I said earlier, is so iconic that it lasted until Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
You have that. Then you've got the Smallville section, which was sort of this beautiful little upbringing in his relationship with his mom
His
and dad,
his yeah his
and
Earth mom and dad, and he lifts the truck, and
yeah, oh my god, when
um
he catches
yeah,
that truck and he
yeah,
smiles, I'm like, that is
and
such a
he's like,
beautiful moment.
did I do good? Was
He's like, get
yeah,
out,
he's like,
pick
yeah,
up the
it's
truck,
like
man.
it's like when your kid poops for the first time. He was like,
Yeah,
see what I did?
only my kid lifted a truck. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then getting into the whole Superman and Metropolis, it did exist because I see. I've always everyone whatever everyone loves Batman. I've always loved Superman. Superman's been my favorite hero. He's my
Yeah,
favorite DC hero. Spider Man was always my favorite Marvel hero. And when I just saw that on the screen, it did exactly what I wanted it to do. It made me believe a man could fly, and this guy was Superman. Like I love that they cast an unknown because you could look at him and go, "It's Superman." You didn't
that's
know who
Superman.
he was, and that
Yeah,
was smartest casting they could have done. And Chris
yeah,
was absolutely. He is still the benchmark. I think all of all comic book casting. And then I think when you nail it with somebody like Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans and something like that, that means you found that Chris Reeve magic, in my opinion,
yeah.
right? Because they're sort of that gold standard nowadays.
Right. So Pop Culture 33 says Superman is based on John
John
Carter,
Carter. Yeah, John Carter. Mhm.
Princess of Mars.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so the second thing that I'm looking for in the fantasy
All
movie
right.
is the pace of the film, and I know
Okay.
you said that there were some pace issues, and I agree. There's some pace issues with this movie. So what would you give the pace on a 1 to 10?
I would probably give this a 7 for pace.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it just See, unlike Lucas, who when I mentioned earlier how he'll leave a shot on for 3 seconds and get the hell off of it,
Right.
no matter how beautiful it is. Whereas Donner, he was creating such an atmosphere in a unit which is gorgeous, but
Yeah.
sometimes we linger a little bit
He
in some
lingered
of
a little bit. Yeah.
those plays that we don't need to be lingering so much in.
Yeah.
There we go.
No, I see that.
Sorry,
Okay, and then
Superman.
yeah, sorry, man. And then special effects. What do you think of the effects here? And again, based on '78
Yeah,
when it came out, what do you think of the special
I
effects?
mean, like 10. Like I loved it. Like when I watched Chris fly, and you didn't see wires, and there were even different shots that like I get giddy about. Like there's always the rear projection, exactly like you got that, which is like a rear projection shot,
Yeah,
which is beautiful. One of my favorite shots is when he's busting out of Luther's lair over the swimming pool, and he comes straight out of the street, and it's
yeah.
that same pose. It's actually it's this pose. This is when he's popping
It's
out
this
of.
one with the yeah,
Yeah, so but then there's also just some flybys, like when he's out like saving that town, and putting the boulders up, and when he's just flying across. I don't know if sometimes those are just dummies on wires, because it definitely looks a little bit. It's sort of a far away shot,
yeah,
but because of however they're doing it, it's completely real looking. Because
yeah,
it is. It's not a blue screen. Because what I hate about too much blue screen is you see the outlines and it looks fake. But
yeah.
that is whatever they're doing. They're there. The trees are there. The rocks are there, and they pan the thing, and the whatever that is
It's
right there.
just yeah, just shooting.
And
Yeah,
there's something tangible and 100% believable about that. So the
nice,
mixture of all those things made me believe
nice.
it's got to be a 10.
Okay, so as a comic book movie, so what would you give the comic book feel of this movie? Did it feel like a comic book on a 1 to 10?
Comic book.
And then also it's I guess it's basis on the true comic of
Yeah.
Superman is how you would score that too. So how
Okay.
close to the comic book character was it, and then
Oh.
how was the comic book feel of the movie?
Well, I mean, if you're marrying that together like that,
Yeah,
I'm not going to go 10 on it, because um, Krypton is completely different. Krypton is like in the comics, it's way more colorful, way more sort of technological looking.
hmm,
Even Zack Snyder's Krypton, I don't think looked right. That was a very dark ass. What's wrong with these planets, man? They're so dark. Like I would never want to live on Krypton. Um,
exactly right. It's like
so
Cybertron. Why would you want to live on
yeah,
that planet?
like
Looked horrible in Transformers. I was like,
not
why don't
far.
I don't want to live there?
So I would definitely say that they got the story part of it right. Like Jor-El and the council, and he sends his son off. All that's right. Just the look is a little bit off, but still spectacular. So it's if we're marrying it to the comic, that's a little off, but the story portion's on.
Hmm.
And then the rest is pretty strong, though. It's not. What I like is they didn't base the rest of the Christopher Reeve stuff on any particular book, because he just went out and did super feats. He fought some bad guys on a boat. He grabbed a dude that was trying to cat burglar on the side of a building. I love how he's standing. Chris is just standing on the side of the building. Is like, problem with the elevators? The guy's like,
Yeah,
oh, and he comes up, and that little fly down, he just flies like effortlessly straight past the guy, and then steps on the glass, catches the guy, and flies away.
yeah.
So all that stuff was just super feats, and so I don't know. I guess, gosh, what do you say about Superman the movie? I mean, it's pretty faithful.
Hmm.
Love the saving of Lois. I'll just go 9, because I think Krypton was a little visually off, but still stunning if I'm trying to piece it together. I
Okay.
guess I'm not.
Right. Pop Culture 33 was said which Superman comic he evolved so much over the years.
Yeah,
And I agree with that, but I'm just speaking in general, the comic book feel
yeah,
of the movie because I know especially nowadays with Marvel there's even going with the Infinity Gauntlet stuff, none of that was matched what the comic book did.
yeah,
So I was just like how did it feel? Did it feel like a comic book movie? And then how accurate do you think it was? Just as a general rule.
yeah,
Like I'm sitting there watching. I know that like X Men 2 is a prime example. X Men 2 came in, and that first scene when Nightcrawler comes in and tries to assassinate
Oh
the
yeah.
president, right? My wife lost her mind because she is a huge X Men fan, and
Uh-huh.
we almost left the theater because she was so pissed off that Nightcrawler was going to kill the president. And I said, "Hold on, wait. We
Ah,
don't know what's going on yet. Maybe he's under some form of mind control or something." I didn't know, and she's like, "Okay, fine," but she was mad.
yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And then when it finally came, he was like, she goes, "That didn't happen in the comic book. That's a bunch of crap." And I'm like, and I got to say, the X Men movies, aside from maybe First Class and how that started to go, the X Men movies are so far away
Oh
from the
yeah.
comic book that it's
Oh yeah.
um, totally indescribable the difference in the characters and just the way that they wrote the story. Um, all right, the last thing is the humor. What did you
Mhm.
think of the humor in Superman? How would you rate that on a 1 to 10?
Uh, I would, yeah, I'd probably give it an 8
Okay.
because I think some of the humor is goofy, but Chris's humor is impeccable. Like his nuances as Clark are so freaking hilarious and subtle. They're so subtle that I think that's what keeps that score kind of strong. But the goofier stuff, like with Ned Beatty and some of the other characters, I don't want those hammy moments to mar the real hero, which is Chris and his humor. So probably 8, and maybe a little biased. And I should probably drop it to a 7, but I think I'm gonna let it stand at 8 because I think it deserves it.
Okay. All right. We've
Okay, all right,
up.
that's what
All
you
right.
want.
Let's do it.
Bring it on.
This is your scoring, my brother.
All
So it's
right,
all right. We
I know
got
you
one
got.
more movie. We got one more question,
All right,
and so your last question in the hot seat. Question 5 is, what does watching movies mean to you? This can
oh,
be philosophical, it could be literal, it could be existential. We could go like we can go full on Freudian with it, however you want to do it. What do you feel when you watch movies? What does it make you feel? And what is it about movies that you love so much?
well, let's see. Okay, so for me, because movies were such a huge part of growing up, it was always about escapism. It's about leaving your life for 2 hours or whatever the time is, getting lost in a story that you hope is quite captivating, funny, scary, hilarious, whatever the tone is that you're going to see that movie for. And you come out and you want to talk about it, like hopefully in a good way. So it's that sort of, it is escapism. And it's also memories. It's seeing it with friends or loved ones or whatever. And so sometimes I used to go see movies alone a lot because I would always want to see a movie and people weren't available to go see a movie. I'm going to a movie. Like that's how
Right.
much I love movies. I'll go by myself and I'm just as happy. Some people are like, you go by yourself. I'm like, you say it like it's a bad thing. I have a fantastic time, watching these films because it's me getting lost. And even if you're next to me, I'm still gonna have that. I'm still gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna get lost. But
Right.
if you go with people, then it becomes an experience, a shared experience that you can then remember, talk about. Like I can think about Star Wars now, and that I was with my brother and my two brothers actually, and that Phantom of the Paradise was sold out. So there's like this history connected to it, and Superman because he's my favorite hero, and I saw it 7.5 times in the theater, mostly
Mhm.
because Rocky 2 was going to start, and I asked the people, could I just stay in Superman until Rocky starts, and they said sure.
Mhm.
So, the only problem was like that brought me right to when Chris Reeve became Superman. I'm like, I don't want to go into Rocky
I don't want to go yet.
right when it got
I
good. So,
kind I kind of know how Rocky 2 is going to start. It's
yeah,
we'll
right.
just we'll just go. We'll go. I'll go over in a
Just
few minutes.
go, man.
Just go.
So
Oh
it
yeah.
turned
No.
into all this, it turned into all
Yeah.
these. Now I want to own them. Now I want to collect them. Now I want these memories near me. So just by looking at the spines and the titles and the covers and the cases, almost grabbed the wrong one there.
Yeah.
And I look at this, I'm like, yeah, look at Chris, man. You're like, and
Yeah.
it's not just looking at a picture of a guy dressed as Superman. It's I look at it and it's all of those things come back.
And yeah,
Come on.
it's the experience and the people you're with and that, it's interesting that you brought that up because I've now come to think of it as memories.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and a prime example was when I got Raiders of the Lost Ark on 4K, and I sat here, I I put it in my 4K player, got my Atmos speakers going, got my TV going, I got my chocolate covered banana chips, and I got my
Yeah, you
tea,
did.
and I'm sitting there and I'm watching the movie, and it was almost like I was in the theater again for the first time.
Yeah. See?
And I got that experience, that memory of where I was when I first saw it up in Washington State, and I know I was with my parents, and we had a friend with us because he was staying over that night, and we were seeing. It was just oddly enough, his name was Brian, so um, just an amazing experience. And watching Raiders of the Lost Ark again, just watching it on 4K, just brought back all that memory because I get the surround sound speakers going off with all the stuff, and it's just an amazing thing. But yeah, now it's become more about the memory. I put an old movie in, and I get the memory of when I watched it for the first time.
Yeah.
Um, and it reminds me of, and I'm a Harry Potter nerd, like the pensieve when he pulls the memory out and he
Mm-hmm.
puts it in the
Yeah.
bowl. That's my pensieve, is these movies that I can put them in and I get those memories back of stuff that I don't, oh man, I forgot when I watched this movie I was with these people and we had this great time. Like my experience watching Independence Day, because I watched it opening night in the theater, and I told this story to Bearded Four Eyesman Adam. It was standing room only. I mean, there were people standing. They sold so many tickets to this thing that there were no seats left. And I mean, it's 1996, and it's me and my best friend, and we're sitting there with my two sons, one on each. He's got my youngest son on
Yeah.
his lap, and I've got my oldest son on my lap, and we're sitting there watching this movie. And when the ship appears, and you were talking about thing, the whole crowd just in awe, just like everybody screaming, and some people crying and some people cheering and some people laughing. It was just an amazing spectacle of what it was, and the clapping at the end that you
Mm-hmm.
don't hardly get it
Oh, I
anymore.
know. Yeah.
And
Oh, we're talking about
it's just
clapping.
that whole experience is just amazing. And I get that. I watch Independence Day every year on the 4th of July, and I
Yeah.
relive that experience over and
That's
over again,
awesome.
and it's amazing.
I
All right.
was this close. I love that you talked about Raiders because we could go on about as you know, that was one of my
That was
potentials,
one of your 12 that you were.
and I
eh,
could easily. I mean, for me again, Raiders. It has the same moments and memories as like Superman, Star Wars, all this. It's
Rocky, all that.
it's
Yeah.
right there, man, right there. Like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
even more so than Rocky, because Rocky I did not see in the theater. I experienced that on television
Oh, okay.
because I mean that was '76, so
Yeah.
that was
I think the
early.
first time I experienced it was on TV also. Now
Yeah,
that I think
Rocky
about it.
2 was the first one I saw actually in the theater, but
Yeah.
because I had seen Rocky and somehow just loved it on television, I had to go see Rocky 2, and then I just fell in love with Rocky.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
just go on and on.
Yep.
All
All right,
right,
my friend, we got one more.
here we go.
It's the oldest one in the bunch,
Yes.
1954, and
Oh,
it's
Tim's
Rear
gonna love
Window.
this.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Um so yeah, oh god, this is such a an amazing movie, and I've actually got the 4K steelbook
Oh, nice.
of that with
Yeah, it's so good.
it's god, that's definitely one of my favorite Hitchcocks. It's like, yeah, it's number 2, maybe number 3 at the most, but I'm going to
Yeah.
say number 2 right off the top. Cuz I Vertigo's my favorite.
Is it?
Um Vertigo's my favorite, and then it's between Rear Window and North by Northwest as my number 2. Um I just love the whole biplane flying down with North by Northwest. That gets me every time. But I really love Rear Window, and and I was rewatching this the other day because
Uh,
this was the one that I really wanted to revisit because it's been a while since I've seen it, and I didn't even watch the 4K until a couple days ago, and I bought it when it first came out. Um, was how many times have they redone this movie?
yeah.
right? Not, they got, Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. There was an episode of Castle where he did like a Rear Window thing. They've played this in so many different movies and stuff where they've actually redone this.
Yeah.
Um,
And Chris
but
Reeve did a version of
it,
Rear Window. Yeah.
yeah,
It's after his accident. He was already in the wheelchair, and
he was in the wheelchair already. Yeah,
but it was Rear Window. It's called
yeah.
Rear Window.
So yeah, actually a reboot of that movie, and I didn't even dawn on me until you mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that. I remember that movie. Um, okay, so let's talk about the cast for
All
Rear
right.
Window. And this is one because it's 1954. I took the default. I went with the four, and then I knew Jimmy Stewart, so that gives me a five. So that was where I was with it. How many people do you? I mean, but you might have gone back. I mean, because it's got Grace Kelly and um,
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I ended up, and again, went in zero, not knowing anything. I loved experiencing Hitchcock this year for the first time. I watched
mhm,
all 15 films. Actually in the bigger section. These are just the four, but and I started with North by Northwest because of that biplane scene I've seen over and over and over. I'm like,
right?
I've got to see this movie.
Yeah,
And then freaking loved it, right? That was like
yeah.
perfect. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to move on to Rear Window. Loved it. Then I went to Rope. Loved it. Like, I'm like, oh my
Rope's
God, are
great.
all this film's this good? Turns out
Yeah,
they're not all that good.
they're not
But,
all that good.
but when you start with three that you feel are absolutely perfect, it was not hard to keep going for 15 more movies,
hmm
or 15, 16 movies total. Anyway, so, but yeah, so I knew James Stewart, Grace Kelly, and then because I was such an Ironside fan growing up, I'm like, oh my God, that's Raymond Burr, and
Raymond
from
Burr.
Godzilla. So that gives me three with names and faces.
Yeah.
Did not know Thelma Ritter. She was funny and hilarious, but I didn't know her face, didn't know her name, and anyone else in the film, I didn't know faces or names. So
hmm
I
Okay.
went three because it would have been taking the four until I saw Raymond Burr. I'm like, I know that dude.
Hey, six. Okay. So yeah,
Ironside's
so you're at a
fun.
six.
Right.
Okay, acting. So what did you think of the acting
Holy
for it?
crap! It was so good. I mean, it's a 10. Acting is
Yeah.
so damn good in this film. Uh, like from the get go, God, it's just, it has to be because it doesn't leave. It's in one location. It is this, apartment complex, multiple buildings, right?
hmm
Looking across the way, it's all in one place. So you don't get, like North by Northwest. It's not a global setting movie where you get to go place to place to place to keep yourself interested. It's like if you're not riveted by the acting, you're going to be bored with this movie.
hmm
So I mean, I kind of got to go a 10 because I was
Yeah.
engrossed the whole
Oh,
time by the actors and the
yeah.
situation.
I actually already wrote a 10 for you. So,
Yeah, right.
um, so yeah, Pop Culture 33 said Rope, Dial M for Murder, then Rear Window if I had to do a list.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that. Dial M for Murder is awesome too. Disturbia was sued by Hitchcock family and lost,
Oh,
saying it was not based on Rear Window. There was apparently
that's
enough difference, and I'm like, okay. As soon as I started seeing that, I'm like, oh, it's Rear Window. I mean, yeah, sure, he's on house arrest instead of being in a wheelchair, um, but yeah, and then
that's
yeah, movie Hunter 2010. He says Hitchcock is amazing. Okay, let's go to the plot. Here we go.
okay.
This is the Russian roulette. Let's see what we get.
Yeah.
A wheelchair-bound photographer spies on his neighbors from his Greenwich Village courtyard apartment window and becomes convinced one of them has committed murder, despite the skepticism of his fashion model girlfriend. That's
Well,
not that's not bad.
unlike Superman, it kind of nails the plot
It does.
pretty well. Um, I don't know if I read that, if I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's something I want to watch tonight.
Yeah.
Um, so
That'd
I
be
don't know.
like if I read that on Netflix, I'd be like, yeah, I'll put it on my watch list. I might check it out
Yeah,
later.
I feel like it's a 6
Yeah.
for potential. Like it sounds interesting, but yeah, I think it's like put it on the queue And if I forget about it on the queue, I'll probably won't feel bad.
Yeah, but if I'm like, oh hey, I got time, let's pop in Rear Window and see
Yeah.
what happens. Okay, so what do you think of the ending of Rear Window?
Oh man, it was really good. Like,
Yeah, right. And I'm just gonna throw a picture in,
yeah.
um,
I mean, I guess
because
since we're talking about endings, we can be spoilery, right? So if you guys haven't seen Rear Window,
it's 1954. If you
yeah, I
haven't
mean
seen
it's
it,
like 100 years old.
yeah,
So,
um,
I mean, I say that and like I just saw it this year for the first time. So anyway,
oh
um,
yeah,
I
no,
thought it was fantastic because the whole time it's like he believed one thing, but then Raymond Burr makes you think it's not that thing,
yeah,
and then it becomes that thing.
yeah,
And then you're like, well, is it? And then he tries to kill him. You're like, okay, it's that thing.
it's that thing.
So the fact that the film is constantly having you guess
Yeah,
where it is, what's happening, is he full of crazy stuff? And now what I loved about it too is that Grace Kelly gets caught up into it. I was so happy she wasn't just this, femme fatale who has no purpose in the film. She gets
right.
all in. She wants to help. Thelma
Yeah,
Ritter's all in. I'm like, oh, this is good because it's not just throwaway characters.
yeah,
And she's over there and she gets caught. Oh my god!
yeah,
Like, because that's part of that ending too, and like you fear for her life. So I was just like on the edge of my seat. So
yeah.
that was a 10 of an ending because it paid off for me exactly. I wasn't like, oh man, really? Like, I know you love Vertigo, but I had the exact same issue with Vertigo. I mean, the opposite issue with Vertigo.
Mm. No,
I,
I definitely I love this ending
yeah,
better than Vertigo,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
But and the journey of Vertigo was better for me
yeah. See, I have a
than
problem with
than
the journey.
that's interesting. I really dug it. I was like in it the whole
Yeah,
time. But yeah,
I
I
mean,
love I love the tension of Rear Window, and it's
yeah,
basically like, is is it real or is he imagining this?
yeah.
And you don't know until
Oh
like
yeah.
right at the end.
I know, yeah. And all the other stories that are happening
Yeah,
alongside that are just as interesting.
yeah,
Like in those actors, you give credit to every other actor because sometimes all you get is something across the way. You can hear them about this loud. You can barely hear them,
yeah,
but it's that far away acting
yeah,
that it gets you riveted. Like oh, what is that? What is that
yeah.
couple? What's happening?
I want
What's
I
that
want to
dance?
know more about that.
What's the
What
dancer?
happened with them?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
about the piano player? Like it
yeah,
was God, it was just so good. Yeah.
yeah.
You can watch it again right now. So good.
Watch it again right now. I'm gonna put it in as soon as we get done.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm watching
I
it
might
again.
I might have to put in American Werewolf in London first. At least that scene.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but okay, so let's talk about the story. What'd you think of the story, beginning, middle, and end? I gotta say Hitchcock brilliantly wrote this, but
Yeah.
um, so what would you
God.
give this on a 1 to 10?
So what was the previous question you asked me? I feel like it's a little. What was the previous question that I gave a 10 to just now?
Oh, that was the ending. You gave
Oh,
the
just
ending a
the
10.
ending.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
this
there's
is so the ending is the tree. The story is the forest. So what do you think of
right.
the whole shebang?
I mean, look, it's like for never. Uh, just write it down. That's a 10.
Brian goes blue jumps in. Huck is up late tonight.
I am.
I was like, it's
Yes,
only 8:30. Is it past your
I
bedtime,
know.
Huck? I'm
For us, it's
sorry.
early. This is Huck after dark.
Huck after dark.
Yeah.
And East
The
Coast,
thing,
it's going to be Huck after midnight if we keep going.
okay, man. I know. Like, wow, how long? Oh God, we are doing a
We're 2.5 hours.
marathon. We're doing a
Yeah,
marathon.
we
Uh,
we are.
yeah.
It's not my longest. It's not the record for the high five,
Okay.
but it's getting there.
Okay. But yeah, because again, like new to Hitchcock and new to this story, and it was my second film right after North by Northwest, which I loved. I was so
Mhm.
excited that was a winner for me,
Yeah,
and to have this one be, and I watched it with my wife too, and we were just riveted. And for it to again just be a sit down movie, all about character, all about observation, all about interpretation,
right.
right or wrong. And I mean, I was never bored. See,
Yeah.
unlike some of the writing for Superman, where I felt it was a little up and down because of the Otis and this and that,
Hmm.
this one I think was just, it was just crisp. You know what I mean? It was just like, It
Yeah.
hits the points it moves on. It hits the points it moves on,
Yeah.
and you don't really know where it's going. So,
Yeah.
and it did it so well that yeah, I mean, I can't pick it apart. I can't remember a moment where I was like, really?
Really. No, it
Like
was the
it's
term
like
I
wow,
use for this one is deliberate. The story was deliberate. It
yeah,
really
I agree.
it knew exactly what it was going to do all the way through.
Even
And
though we didn't know what that
we
was.
didn't know, but it knew. It knew
Yeah, yeah,
exactly where it was going all the way through the movie, and where to throw us off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So are you putting a 10 on this, or are
yeah.
you?
I'm putting a
Yeah.
10 on the
Okay.
story. Yeah,
I thought you would.
yeah.
Okay.
Other
So
examples?
I'm labeling this as a thriller
Okay.
for the genre, and the type of movie is a crime thriller. So it's a crime movie. Um, so the aspects of a thriller that I look for are intensity, pace. I'm still kind of looking at pace, and suspense. For the crime part, I'm looking at the actual criminal elements or the crime elements, and then the twist
Yeah.
is the killer part, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I want when I'm watching a crime thriller.
All
I
of
want
it.
a good twist. I want you to like surprise me with something. And okay, so let's talk about the intensity. Um, does it build? Does it come at you like in the face, like right away? And then what would you put that on a 1 to 10? How did you like the intensity of the movie?
I think it's rather than it building, I feel like it gets there pretty quick and then sustains it really nicely.
Right.
The nice, like we got you here. Now we're just going to keep you here till the end
Now
of
we're
the movie.
we're gonna keep you here hanging. We're not gonna let you
Yes.
drop, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna
And then we'll tag you.
and then we'll tag you at the end.
Yeah.
All right. So
So
let's put
now
a number on that.
do I rate that? Okay. So now I'm rating the intensity. I would
Yeah.
go probably like 9 just because it's a nice, even, it's not something that's slow, but then bam, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But it's a killer 9 all the way across.
Nice. Okay. All right. So pace.
Yeah.
What did you think of the pacing of the film? Did you think it dragged a little bit in any part? And you kind of talked about that with the story. Um, what did you think of the pace of the film?
I mean, I don't I don't feel like it dragged. I'm trying to remember, like maybe I don't know, maybe some moments when the cop friend came in and there, but I mean, like I feel like even that was like story driven dialogue that
Yeah.
kept the pace going. Like I wasn't like, okay, let's get this guy out of here. I want him to look across the way again. Like I was never feeling like that, and I
Right.
felt like when Grace Kelly came back in, like she really rejuvenated the scene when she decided to play along. And Thelma Ritter, because of Thelma's humor, like I don't know who this chick is, but she was hilarious. Um, like, I mean, Pace. I don't know. If, I feel like tossing a 9 at it, but I'm trying to also figure out what's keeping it from being a 10. All right, I'll keep it as a 9
Okay.
because I don't feel it was horrible. I feel like maybe there's a moment in there where I can get up and go get an iced tea.
Yep. Yeah. All right. And then the last thing for the thriller is the suspense. So this is not necessarily the intensity, but the suspense, the part where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah. Well, I think this film is a absolute 10 when it
It
comes to
kills
that.
it. Yeah, it kills it
Right,
in the
like
yeah.
everything about every character across the way comes into play.
Yeah.
Even like the dog, the flower bed, the steamer trunk. Was there a body in there? It's like, I mean, every little thing. Yeah, that's a 10.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's so well done. It's so well crafted. Same thing with Rope. If you haven't seen Rope, if you guys haven't seen Rope, and it does that same sort
It's
of
been a while. I need to revisit Rope. It's been a long time
wow.
since I've seen
And
it.
and talk about another intimate movie. It's in one room, just
Yeah.
like how Hitch. So Rear Window's in one area, like the
Yeah.
complex. Rope
Right.
is in one room, and it's all done as one take. Like he'll hide the edit on someone's back or something like that. But it's great.
What,
James Stewart also in that one.
my dog's doing something. What are you doing? Okay, you're just trying to get comfortable. All
Distracting
right.
you,
My
giving you
my
seven.
there's a chair that is straight across from my desk, and it
Yeah.
faces me. And when it gets this late at night, my dog likes to be kind of close by where I'm at.
Uh,
So he jumped up on that chair, and I'm seeing him like it looks like he was digging into the chair, and he was just kind of getting the cushion all ready
uh-huh.
for him to
Getting
lay down and
cozy.
relax. Yeah, he was getting comfy, and I was just like, what are you doing?" And he just looked at me like, "What?"
Yeah.
All right, so the last two things for the crime thriller is the crime itself. How did you feel they played that out, or any other crimes that were in the movie that may have come into play? What would you give that on a 1 to 10?
Well, because
Because it
of the
was
uniqueness of this film,
exactly
you technically don't ever see a crime.
right.
And and you can herald that, as a 10, but it's not. Like you're asking
No,
me to rate the crime and you don't
yeah,
see the crime.
right.
So the crime is really because there's a lack of a crime. That's what keeps you wondering
If there was a
during
crime,
the film.
yeah.
So
Did the murder actually happen? Yeah, because you're like, I didn't see it.
So I think you got to give it like a 5 because
Okay,
the lack of a crime is also what elevates the thing. But if I'm scoring the actual crime
yeah,
that's not there,
yeah.
that's tough. I mean, I guess
No,
if I'm trying to define what you're saying, then I would say a 5.
okay, no, that's fine. Um, And like this, yeah, this is your interpretation. I'm
Yeah,
trying to kind of
of
give
your
you as
question.
much guidelines as I can, but
Yeah, yeah,
this is how you feel about how I say it, and then
yeah, yeah. How
we
you
score
say
at
it?
this.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then the last thing is the twist. This is the surprise factor, the
yeah,
bang, the sixth sense where you find out he's dead the whole time.
yeah,
This how is the twist on a 1 to 10?
yeah. The twist is a 10. The twist is a
Oh yeah,
10 because I was so invested, and the fact that you still don't know when she's over there in the room and he's coming at her is like, is he trying to kill her? Is he just pissed off at her? And, like we never go in there. That's the thing is that they never take the camera into someone else's apartment. It's always outside. So because of that, you really that twist is always undercover until the end, and then he is,
yeah.
like that's brilliant. It's like
Because you're
it's like
yeah, yeah. Until the whole thing happened at the end,
yeah,
I had no idea whether the murder actually happened or whether he was the bad guy or not.
yeah,
I thought it made the most sense for it to end that way,
yeah.
but I had no idea that it was going to do it until it actually happened.
Well,
And
yeah,
I think that was just brilliant writing.
yeah. Because honestly, at one point, I just thought, oh, it's not at all that he didn't like. We are so led to believe he killed her, and James Stewart is so led to believe he killed her. I'm like, I couldn't have killed her though, because everything's pointing to the fact that and then he kills her. you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's almost like a twist that you know about, but you're not sure about.
Hmm.
I just thought it was pretty great. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're all done scoring the movies,
Oh boy.
and I will say that you have at least one tie.
Oh,
Um,
all right.
so what I want you to do is just rank these 5 movies from favorite to least favorite. Just like if you had them right there in front of you, which one would you watch first?
Oh, like without hearing your rating first?
Without hearing the scores, your favorites.
Oh God, that's terrible. I don't like that question at all. It's like the
Well,
worst.
this is how I'm going to get you to break the tie without telling you which one's tied.
Well, why don't I get to choose the tie? That would be fascinating. Because then you'd see which one I favor.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, let's do that then. Okay,
yeah.
so you have a tie between Rocky and Rear Window.
As last, or just those
I'm
two?
not
Oh,
those
you're not
those
telling me where
two.
they fall.
I'm not going to tell you where they fall until we do the score at the end.
All
Which would
right,
you pick out of those two?
Rocky.
Okay.
Yep, Rocky.
Okay, you have a
Yeah,
second tie.
Real Windows a brand new love. Rocky has been there since all
Okay.
my life. So,
Okay. So
oh,
you also have a tie between American Werewolf in London and Superman.
oh Jesus. I will pick Superman.
Okay.
Yep. Wow. Star Wars all by itself.
Star Wars all by itself.
All right. Let's see
Um,
where they
all
go.
right, so
Need a
so in
calculator?
no, I don't need. I already had them. So
Uh,
in last place, or your fifth ranked movie in this, is Rear Window with an
oh my
85.
goodness. All right. Wow.
So and
It's a
that's your lowest score is an 85.
is it 85. Okay.
Okay,
Is that good?
that's really good. 85 out of 100. That's
Yeah.
really good.
All
So
right.
um, number four then is Rocky because that was your favorite other two. Also an 85.
All right. I think it's because of those little pieces in there.
The little pieces, yeah. That's why we're scoring it on 10 aspects, and that kind of changes the
Yeah.
whole thing of the movie. So,
Totally.
um, your number three is American Werewolf in London
Oh man. All
with an
right.
87,
Okay.
and then number two is Superman
Yep.
with an 87,
All right.
and your number one movie is Star Wars with a 94 out of 100.
Ooh. Wow. Wow. How about
Nice job,
that?
Huck.
How about that? Like, I mean, that's fascinating. Yeah, this is a really fascinating thing, dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
To see where those like, because they're all worthy of being up
yeah,
there. Yeah. Look, I've seen a lot of these that you've done with other people, and it is shocking that like Rocky kind of isn't number one. But
right.
when you're playing these 10 specific things that you're asking a certain way, and I
Hmm.
have to feel like I answer them properly. See, that's interesting
Objectively,
because the fact that I gave Rear Window that low rating of 5
yeah,
in that one question,
yeah,
and that brought it down to tie with Rocky. God, that means
yeah.
Rocky would have been last
Rocky would have been last.
had I not
Had
given
you, yeah.
the tie to pick it.
Yeah, but
That's
but then think of it again also with Rocky, the interest in the subject matter you gave a five,
oh, that's right. That's right.
so
Right.
that hit a five as well. So because of those aspects,
Two
that
fives.
dropped
Yeah.
those two movies to the bottom of the list. It's
Ah,
interesting.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
That
So
was a good question for the Rocky. It's the subject matter because that's one of the things that didn't run me to Raging Bull or or the
yeah,
Southpaw or those
I
movies.
yeah,
I'm
I
sure
would
that
say the same thing, and with Raging Bull for sure. Um, the other part was that it was in black and white, and I have trouble with black and white movies, but I actually once I got to watch Raging Bull, I really liked it. Um, so my ranking just a
yeah.
slight difference.
Okay.
So my number five was Superman
Okay.
with a 79.
Hmm.
My number four was Rear Window with an 80.
Okay. So they were kind of in that same little
Yeah,
spot.
my number three was American Werewolf in London
Oh, look
with
at
an
that.
85.
Okay.
So we were both number three. My number two was Star Wars with an 89, and my number one was Rocky with a 92.
Nice. You must like sports movies more,
I,
or
I do like the sports movies.
yeah.
I can't
Well,
say I'm much of
specifically
a
the subject
boxing.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
has to be boxing, not just sports.
yeah,
Because I like other sports movies, but the question was specifically the subject matter, which
yeah.
wasn't inherently
Well,
sports. But
the question was the subject matter, and then the for the sports movie, the question was the sports,
yeah,
just in general, the sport
right,
itself, how they do it. Which you gave actually a higher score than you did for the interest in the subject matter.
right, because the movie.
Um, and I and for Rocky, I gave an 8 for the interest in the subject matter because I do like boxing. And then I gave a 9 for the sport because I think they portrayed the sport a lot better than a lot of movies do.
Yeah, for real.
So
Nice. Oh,
so nice, but great job,
nice.
Huck. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
man. You too. Good score.
Yeah. All right. So we are done. Um,
Killer night,
but
man.
before we sign off, let's go ahead and I want you to go ahead and shamelessly plug your channel and things that are coming up. In particular, are you going through with this Huck After Dark, and what are you planning on doing with that? I'm going to put the spotlight on you, my friend. So,
I like that.
um,
I love the idea. Hey, everybody, way down here. Yeah.
I'm in the corner.
You gotta squint to see about talk really
Yeah,
small.
uh,
Um,
yeah. Talk fast, buddy. This
so
is my channel. No,
yeah. Talk loud.
talk loud in the corner. No, I'm down here going ah.
So Dave mentioned, so I've been putting it out on my morning show that I want to try to do some late night stuff. Now, late night may not be super late for me, but it would be later for everyone
East
else because
Coast would be better. Yeah,
a lot of audience, you guys are East Coast. So what is it now? It's like 8, 9, 10, 11. It's almost midnight for you guys. So definitely like Huck After Dark or the Cafe After Dark. Something is what I'm shooting for. And it would almost be something like we're just doing here, Dave, which is just picking fun topics and really, having a great conversation about them. I think that would be a fun like vibe to have for an evening show. I don't want to just turn it on and like a lot of the morning things, just hanging out, throw me some topics, let's talk.
yeah.
And while it certainly is a decent format, I don't know if I have the energy to just turn my camera on and go, what are you guys talking about? I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I guess if people are interested in that, but that means the audience, you guys have to bring it. Like, you got to bring some questions, and you know me, I ain't got no problem with talking. I'll keep going. So I think it would be fun if I do them to bring people on with me. I like this is a late night conversation with you, and there's something super fun about that. And we get to share again. It's like seeing a movie. This is a shared experience, and now we have this together, and this will be on YouTube for other people to enjoy, and we can go back and watch it later and go, oh man, I cannot believe Rocky was not number one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's
So
interesting. But
yeah,
yeah, so it's Huck's Pop Culture Cafe. I almost messed it up.
there it is. Nope, nope.
Um,
There you go.
and it's awesome. And I got to say, you really put a lot of detail into your trivia things, and I really appreciate that. I love your morning mug. I'm usually I'm in the office and I say, "Oh, hey, Huck's on," so I'll
Yes,
pop
dude.
that on. I'll put my headphones on. I'll say, "Hey," and I'm just going about and doing my work at the same time,
Nice.
and
Appreciate
I
that.
listen to your morning mug. So I really appreciate that. So you talked about doing maybe like panelists and coming in and talking about topics. So I'm down to be a guest. If you'll have me, I'm on board
All
for
right.
your God, what is it? I was thinking of
Cafe.
the I was thinking of the poetry where we do the poems at night and you snap your fingers at the end. Slam poetry where we just do we call it Huck slam poetry or something.
Yeah.
But Huck After Dark or uh, Midnight Madness or whatever, and
Yeah.
just we just talk about whatever. Yeah, if you here's the topic and here's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'd love to be on it, and yeah, I'm down for another trivia battle whenever.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
trying to score one up just so you guys know for Monday night. I have a couple lined up already. So
yeah,
if I can get like two more locked in, which I might, then we're gonna be good to go for next Monday night.
okay,
Again. Yeah.
yeah. If you need someone, I can be a filler
All
at
right.
any
If I
point.
come up short, all right.
If you
There
come
you
up
go.
short and you need one more guy, you need a spotter.
See, it's
Uh,
because Dave tasted, all
I
victory this
I
close.
tasted. I
And he's
had it.
like,
It was on my tongue. I
oh,
had
yeah,
it. I
man.
had it. It was in my hand, and I lost it. Damn you, South Park. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
but
man.
and I just don't like South Park, so I had no idea. I was just like, I'm just gonna pick a letter. There we go. And crap, I was wrong. Um, but no, it's a lot of fun. I have a blast doing it. So yeah, I had a blast tonight. I'm glad you were on, Huck. Thank you so much for joining me on the 4K Lowdown for the Hi-5. And
Awesome.
if you had fun and you want to come back and do another 5 movies, I'm
Yeah.
down, brother. We'll if you say yeah, because you gave me like 7 other movies. So if you want to drop
I
if you want
did.
to drop 5 more, hey, let's do these 5, and here's when I can come on. Then we'll do that. I'm
Yeah, man.
totally
And
down
look,
for
at the
that.
very least, I would say a topic of one of the midnight things, if you come on, has to be talking about Raiders.
Oh yeah, I'm
You
down
know,
for talking
we
about
could
Raiders.
easily
It's
talk about that for a
yeah.
while.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, before we drop off, anything else to say, my friend?
Like I said, could be getting a trivia thing, so be on the lookout for that. The huge. I got box office breakdowns on Monday, live morning shows on Tuesday, do the Blu-ray hunts, do the all this kind of stuff, and try to keep my channel going, flowing and going, as I say. So, if you haven't been to my channel, get on over there, hit like and subscribe, check out my stuff, and that's it.
Awesome. All right, guys. For the 4K lowdown, I have no other things this week. Next Monday is the holiday, so we're not going to have our Instagram live stream, which is another reason why I could be on the
That's
trivia
right.
if you, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be available.
that's good.
But next Tuesday will be our top 10 Tuesday with Turner Fan 77. We're going to
Noise.
talk about our top 10 found footage movies.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's gonna be interesting because he picked five, I picked five. We're gonna score them live and see
I didn't
what
know there
comes
were
out on
that
top.
many.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
We put like all POV, like documentary style or
yeah,
POV films, things like that. All that kind of falls into that category. So we just call it found footage.
gotcha.
But there are a lot more found footage movies than you would think, and I've got a lot
Oh,
of them. So, because I am a sucker for those. But Huck, my brother, thank you so much for being on.
thanks, buddy.
It was great having you on. If you want to stay on, we can talk after the show. I'm going to throw up our recap, and then we'll be out of here.
I want to thank everybody in the chats as well. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
Brian, how does it feel seeing the Huckster late at night? Is this a good taste? You gotta let me know.
yeah, Brandon Light. So yeah. Have a great holiday weekend, everyone. Thanks, you too, Movie Hunter. Appreciate it. You guys take care, be safe, watch some movies, and enjoy this holiday weekend. Take care.
Later.